Chapter 671. Zhang Xiao'er looked around and saw that there were many people in the restaurant. Sigh, now that all the money is gone to the number one under heaven restaurant, how many people are willing to spend money here? Moreover, there are more and more people coming to deliver demonic beasts. These demonic beasts are becoming less and less valuable. Because you are a regular customer, they will give you 10 low-grade spirit stones. If it is someone else, they will give you 8 at most. Shopkeeper Wang shook his head. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? Zhang Xiao'er said gloomily. At this moment, another cultivator carried the same demonic beast as Wang Xiao'er. Shopkeeper Wang, this 7-horned beast, I almost died. No matter what, you have to give me 9 low-grade spirit stones. That person shouted. No, at most 8. Shopkeeper Wang refused. Zhang Xiao'er showed a trace of bitterness. Holding the 10 low-grade spirit stones, Zhang Xiao'er's heart was filled with depression. He grabbed his scalp, which was becoming less and less hairs. What should I do? This month's loan repayment date is approaching. Why is it so difficult to earn spirit stones now? Zhang Xiao'er said with a bitter smile. Zhang Xiao'er. Suddenly, a voice called out to Zhang Xiao'er. Brotherly, why are you here? Zhang Xiao'er said in astonishment. Sigh, I have been refining pills in the Alchemy Institute for a long time. They are only giving me 1/10 of the previous payment. Only 1/10? How can I repay the loan? Brotherly lamented. Only 1/10? They are slandering you? No, everyone is paying the same price. Many people went to apply. That shopkeeper is someone I know, so he gave me a chance. Brotherly said sadly. Sigh. That's right. It was fine in the past. Why is it so difficult to earn spirit stones now? We still have 297 years. Zhang Xiao'er said sadly. Why don't we leave this place? I can't take it anymore. Brotherly said. Leave? Then we don't want the house? Also, my brother and I have already paid 25 high-grade spirit stones. I can't leave. Zhang Xiao'er said bitterly. The two of them walked back to the number one under heaven restaurant. Why are there so many people there? Brotherly asked curiously. Let's go and take a look. Zhang Xiao'er immediately rushed forward. The crowd is surrounding a notice board. Really? Really? Can you represent the world's number one dormitory? That's great. That's great. We're saved. Sounds of excitement could be heard from the crowd. Then everyone quickly left. Zhang Xiao'er and Big Brotherly gathered around and looked at the plaque. Big Brother, is this true? Zhang Xiao'er was ecstatic. Beside the notice, a white-robed man explained the situation and nodded. As long as I persuade one person to buy a house, all his money will be mine? Zhang Xiao'er exclaimed. The white-robed man nodded with a smile. That's right, 25 high-tier spirit stones is the down payment. You should know that as long as you find someone, all 25 high-tier spirit stones will be used to pay off your loan. Is there really such a thing? Really? Zhang Xiao'er said excitedly. The white-robed man smiled. Of course, the city lord's mansion has also helped us send out a notice. You can go and take a look. Do you still not believe in the reputation of the world's number one restaurant? I believe you. I believe you. It's just that I'm pleasantly surprised. The owner of the world's number one restaurant is too considerate. Zhang Xiao'er said excitedly. As long as you persuade one person to buy our house, all your loan payments will be reduced by 1/4. In other words, if you persuade 4 people, this house will be yours for the next 300 years. Do you understand? From then on, no one will ask you to pay off your loan, the white-robed man said with a smile. Chapter 672. Understood, understood. That's great. My brother and I bought the house together. As long as my brother and I each find 2 people to buy the house, I won't have to pay back my 300 years of debt. That's great. That's great. Zhang Xiao'er shouted as if he had lost his mind. Everyone, let's hurry up and find the people. The man in white laughed. Yes, yes, yes. Zhang Xiao'er ran home excitedly. At home, Boss Zhang was cultivating. Suddenly, Zhang Xiao'er ran in. Brother, good news, good news. 3 days later, Zhang Xiao'er brought a few jars of wine to the entrance of a cave. Second uncle, I'm here to see you. Zhang Xiao walked over with a smile. At the entrance of the cave, a middle-aged Taoist was inhaling and exhaling yuan qi. He looked at Zhang Xiao. "Ha, isn't this Xiao? You even brought so many gifts? You know how to be filial." The middle-aged Taoist laughed. "I'm here to see second uncle. Of course, I can't come empty-handed." Zhang Xiao laughed. 3 years ago, you borrowed money from me to buy a house. Now you've bought it?" The middle-aged Taoist laughed. "Of course. This is also the reason why I came to see second uncle. That house is great. Second uncle, come and live with us." Zhang Xiao said excitedly. "Oh, is the #1 hostel under the heavens really that good?" The middle-aged Taoist laughed. "Of course. Well, it's a good thing that you have a good starting point. The future generations of the Zhang family will depend on you. As for that house, I won't be going. I'm fine now." The middle-aged Taoist laughed. No, second uncle, you must go. Otherwise, you will regret it for the rest of your life." Zhang Xiao tried to persuade him. Another 3 days later, Zhang Xiao met the manager of the #1 hostel under the heavens again. "My second uncle bought it for 25 upper-grade spirit stones." Now, Zhang Xiao looked at the manager expectantly. "Congratulations, fellow Taoist Zhang. Your brother has also found someone to buy my #1 house under the heavens for a total of 50 upper-grade spirit stones. We have already helped you hand it over to the East Money Bank. From now on, your monthly loan will only be half of the original amount." The manager smiled. "Really?" Zhang Xiao excitedly ran to Zhidong Qian Bank to inquire. When he walked out of East Qian Bank, Zhang Xiao's entire body was trembling. "That's great. That's great. I've only pulled one person over. As long as I find another one, all of the loans will be gone. That's right. All of them will be gone. I won't have to repay the loans anymore." Zhang Xiao said excitedly. 2 days later, Zhang Xiao once again brought the wine to a secluded valley. "Master, your disciple has come to see you." Zhang Xiao smiled as he walked into the valley. The valley was quiet, and an old Taoist was practicing some kind of fist technique. When Zhang Xiao came in, the old Taoist smiled. "Waiter? Ha, you haven't come to see me for many years." The old Taoist laughed. "Yes, disciple was wrong. Disciple is here to apologize." "Ha, disciple bought a house and invited master to have a look." Zhang Xiao laughed. Half a month later, Zhang Xiao and boss Zhang went to a restaurant extravagantly. "Big brother, that's great. Our loans have been cleared. All of the loans have been cleared. All of them." Zhang Xiao was very unhappy. That's good. From now on, you and I are brothers. Cultivate well." Boss Zhang said. "Yes, cultivate well." Zhang Xiao nodded. Zhang Xiao's debts were cleared. However, because Zhang Xiao's debts were cleared, another 4 people were trapped by the #1 hotel under the heavens. The original debt increased by 4 times in the blink of an eye. This debt was like a rolling snowball, growing bigger and bigger. 1 became 4, 4 became 16, and 16 became 64. A policy of the #1 hotel under the heavens suddenly swept through the first Kai city like a plague, crazily sweeping through hundreds of cities. It was unstoppable. The 100 cities all went crazy. More and more people were dragged by their relatives to buy houses. The #1 hotel under the heavens was expanding crazily. At the same time, the city lords were going crazy at this moment. In the first Kai city, Wang Qingshan saw Lu Gang walking over. "Mr. Lu, you're expanding again? The #1 hotel under the heavens is expanding again?" Wang Qingshan was extremely enthusiastic. Moreover, Wang Qingshan personally poured tea for Lu Gang. "City Lord Wang, I hope you can spread the word more," Lu Gang said with a smile. Of course, Wang Qingshan said excitedly. "If someone objects," Lu Gang frowned and said, "I'll kill him with my own hands," Wang Qingshan promised. Chapter 673. First Open City. Mayor's Mansion. "Master, a few more people came to cause trouble today. They're bad-mouthing Best Under Heaven and East Qian Bank." A disciple reported. "Where are they?" Wang Qingshan glared. They've all been locked up by me. The disciple fawned. And well done. Wang Qingshan nodded. Master, I've also bought a house. The best under heaven is indeed not bad. The disciple laughed. Oh, I've given you so many spiritual stones. It shouldn't be difficult to buy a house. Wang Qingshan laughed. I didn't spend much money. I asked a few seniors to buy it for me. The 300 years of interest is waived. The disciple laughed. Disciples of the sect, are there many who bought it? Wang Qingshan asked curiously. More and more. The disciple laughed. Buy it. The spiritual stones are in our hands anyway. Don't let the goodies go to outsiders. Wang Qingshan laughed. Master is truly wise. When Master first brought us to the first open city, we had some complaints, but now we realize that Master was right. Staying in the first open city is much wiser than staying in the sect. As far as the disciples are concerned, having spirit stones stored in the East Money Bank means that the interest we earn every month is many times higher than staying in the sect. Even when I deposit the interest again, the interest is more than what the sect gave us. The disciple laughed. Ha. Wang Qingshan was proud. First open city, East Qian Bank's second floor. Yan Chuan looked at the originally bustling street. At this moment, leaves were flying in the air. A gust of wind blew past, making it look extremely bleak. The originally bustling street was now deserted, and many shops were closed. Only East Qian Bank was busy every day. Your Majesty, the plan this time is too vicious. Furthermore, he forced everyone to be helpless. Yifeng sighed. Yan Chuan nodded. City Lord of 100 Cities, many people have put their spirit stones back into the East Qian Bank. Our East Qian Bank is the biggest beneficiary. Everyone in the city is tempting their relatives to buy a house. By the end of this year, 100 cities will completely collapse. Yifeng said, everyone is poor. Everything has become bleak. Yifeng said worriedly, when the 100 cities crumble, the hearts of the people will scatter. When the army of the Great Jin Dynasty arrives, these people will no longer work for the Great Winged Heaven School and will no longer obstruct our army. Furthermore, these 200 million practitioners will follow our army to attack the Great Winged Heaven School. There is no room for mercy in a war. Yin Chuan said solemnly. I understand. If we are merciful today, we will definitely plant the seeds of destruction for Dejun in the future. Yifeng sighed. Don't worry. These spirit stones will be taken from the people. When 100 cities becomes Dejun's territory, we will use them for the people. In the future, we will use these spirit stones to pacify the city. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Your Majesty is merciful. Yifeng sighed. We will have Yushi transfer Rosefinch and Xuanwu to protect you and Lu Gang. We will leave the matters here to you. We will prepare the next plan. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Yes. Yifeng nodded. The first batch of buildings to be built in Zhang Shao'er's house. In Zhang Shao'er's room, Zhang Shao'er looked at the two elders in front of him. Second uncle. Master. Zhang Shao'er called out guiltily. Chapter 674. Don't call me second uncle. I'm not your master. The two of them glared at Zhang Shao'er. Shao'er, if you need money, I'll lend it to you. If you want to buy a house, I'll give you my savings. But what do you take me for? You colluded with outsiders and lied to me? Second uncle glared. Evil disciple. Evil disciple. Second uncle master. What do you think we should do? Zhang Shao'er knelt on the ground. Go out and earn spirit stones. Before we invite our friends to buy a house, help us pay off the loan. Second uncle said in a low voice. Yes. Zhang Shao'er wailed. Originally, they only had to pay off one loan. Now, it had suddenly become 4 times? Zhang Shao'er completely broke down. At least Zhang Shao'er had some humanity. Those inhumane cultivators even chased their family members out of the house and scolded them, not caring about their family members at all. The entire city was in a state of misery. The people had no way of making a living. Even someone as simple as Zhang Shao'er had become a beast who cheated his friends and family. What more those who were cold-hearted to begin with? This trend did not just spread in First Kai City. It spread in hundreds of cities at the same time. There was a kind of pain that made you feel like you were falling into hell. You could not let it go, nor could you throw it away. You could only suffer every day. Be it physically, mentally, or financially, they were all suffering. Everyone was suffering in their hearts. While the people were suffering, the city lord's residence was overjoyed. City lord's residence. Master, there's no more space in the prison, a disciple said worriedly. Wang Qingshan frowned. He could vaguely feel that the situation seemed to have gone out of control. Master, another batch of spirit stones entered the account. Another disciple shouted. Wang Qingshan's initial worry dissipated. Spirit stones. It was fine as long as the spirit stones entered the account. Master, our spirit stones have all been deposited in the East Money Bank to earn interest. It's not just us. I heard that many city lords' money has been deposited in the East Money Bank. Why didn't you deposit yours? Just leave it there, and it's enough to earn interest, a disciple said with a smile. Wang Qingshan shook his head. Vaguely, Wang Qingshan felt that he should not have deposited his spirit stones in the East Money Bank. Plus, his own master, Shi Wuya, didn't store them either. Therefore, Wang Qingshan didn't store them. Instead, he stored them up and used the strongest array to protect them. Cultivators had storage treasures. However, storage treasures were too rare. Only those in the emptiness realm, or at least the intermediate emptiness realm, could create a storage treasure. Moreover, the intermediate emptiness realm cultivator had to be proficient in crafting treasures. The storage space of a storage magic treasure was generally very small. It was so small that it only had a space of a few dozen feet. It was already an incredible storage magic treasure. Moreover, the storage space was not permanent. As time passed, it would continue to shrink. This was also the reason why storage magic treasures were so rare in the world. There were many ancient storage magic treasures that had been passed down, but the space within them was gradually disappearing. Many of his storage treasures were now useless. Hence, Wang Qingshan could not bring his spirit stones with him. That was why he was willing to deposit the spirit stones of countless cultivators in the East Bank. Master, more than half of the people in my Great Winged Heaven School seem to have come to buy a house, the disciple said. One persuading four, for persuading 16. This speed is indeed fast. Wang Qingshan nodded. One advised 4, for advised 16, 16 advised 64. Coaxing and cheating. The snowball was getting bigger and bigger. However, there were only so many people in a city. There were only 2 million of them. Chapter 675. Finally, when this snowball caught everyone in one fell swoop, the scam could no longer continue. This was because no one could be scammed anymore. No one could be persuaded to buy a house anymore. There were only so many people. How could there be more houses than people? The horrifying loan repayment and loan amount were horrifying. The entire city's economy was in a depression. There was nowhere to earn spirit stones. Finally, the entire city started to riot. The first round of collapse occurred. Ban the #1 brothel under the heavens. Ban loans. City Lord, come out. Return my spirit stones. The huge riot rushed to the city lord's residence. At the city lord's residence, Wang Qingshan looked at the countless cultivators surrounding the city lord's residence. These cultivators all had bloodshot eyes as they looked at the city lord's residence's floating island with cold gazes. Capture them. The new prison cells are already built. Capture them all. A reckless disciple shouted. Smack. Wang Qingshan slapped that disciple. Master? That disciple said in confusion as he covered his face. Wang Qingshan's hand trembled. 100,000? No. For 100,000 cultivators rebelled? Wang Qingshan said in shock. Capture? That was crazy. Who would dare to capture them at this time? These people were all crazy. Did they not see the roar in their eyes? As long as things did not go well, these people would definitely destroy the city lord's residence. How many disciples did Wang Qingshan bring? Everyone, Wang Qingshan called out. Wang Qingshan still had some dignity. When he called out, everyone stopped talking and looked coldly at Wang Qingshan. City Lord, Release my elder brother from prison. City Lord, release my grandfather. Someone shouted. However, that person was quickly drowned in the wave of dead. City Lord Wang, the #1 brothel under the heavens, is a disaster to the sect and the people. City Lord Wang, please make the decision and return all our spirit stones. That's right. City Lord Wang, we want spirit stones. City Lord Wang, please make the decision. Everyone looked coldly at Wang Qingshan. They were not begging, but forcing him. Originally, only 100 people came. However, the group grew to 10,000 in the blink of an eye. Soon it grew to 400,000. It was not just the first City Lord's residence. 100 cities faced a huge disaster at the same time. I promise that I'll report this matter to the sect and deal with it appropriately. I'll give everyone a satisfactory answer. Wang Qingshan consoled. At the same time, Wang Qingshan knew that he couldn't hold on any longer. He had to ask the sect to step in. Otherwise, no one from the City Lord's residence would be able to escape. 400,000, 500,000, 600,000. More and more shoujo were waiting for a reply. The City Lords of 100 cities were terrified. The Great Winged Heaven School was a huge palace. Shinku Kuroha slowly stopped. A faint smile appeared on his face. Sect leader, bad news, bad news. Someone shouted from outside the palace. Come in. Shinku Kuroha's face turned cold. Hoo-hoo! Immediately, nearly 100 people rushed into the main hall. Shinku Kuroha narrowed his eyes. What is it? Why are you so flustered? True Monarch Black Feather said in a deep voice. Sect leader, hundreds of thousands of unruly people have besieged the City Lord's residence. Sect leader, hundreds of thousands of unruly people have besieged the City Lord's residence. Sect leader, the unruly people are causing trouble. Unruly people. Unruly people. It seemed that everyone had agreed to talk about the 100 Cities Lord's residence. Shinku Kuroha raised his eyebrows. At Shinku Kuroha's level, Shinku Kuroha basically didn't need to manage the 100 Cities Lord's residence because Shinku Kuroha had many other things to deal with. True Lord Blackfeather had to rack his brains to deal with the various middle-level sects as well as the great Jin dynasty in the world. Cities? 100 Cities Lord's residence? What's going on? Shinku Kuroha's face changed. Although Shinku Kuroha didn't care about the 100 Cities Lord's residence, he knew the importance of the 100 Cities Lord's residence. He also knew that something big might have happened. Listening to the following narration, Shinku Kuroha frowned deeply. Shinku Kuroha narrowed his eyes. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Jidong Qianhang? The world's #1 house? Chapter 676. Squinting his eyes, Shinku Kuroha's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. The East Money Bank? The world's #1 money bank? Yes, what do we do now? Sovereign, the situation is getting worse. The people of 100 cities are clamoring to return the money. What do we do now? Clenching his fist, since that's the case, seize all the East Money Bank. Ah? Everyone was slightly stunned. Men, pass down my orders. All the cultivators of the Great Winged Heaven School who are not in seclusion are to head to the 100 cities and guard them well. Don't let anyone enter or leave. Shinku Kuroha said in a deep voice. Yes. A person beside him said respectfully. Pass down my orders. Seize all the East Money Bank and deploy them to appease the people of the city. Shinku Kuroha said in a deep voice. Yes. Where did the first East Money Bank appear? Shinku Kuroha looked at the crowd. In my first open city. A cultivator immediately said. Let's go. This sovereign will follow you to the first open city. Shinku Kuroha said in a deep voice. At this moment, Shinku Kuroha's face was extremely gloomy. Vaguely, he felt a trace of unease. Leading a large number of cultivators, he flew out of the Great Winged Heaven School in a mighty manner. The 100 cities were the foundation of the Great Winged Heaven School and its source of income. Although the countless cultivators of the Great Winged Heaven School were not loyal to Shinku Kuroha's orders, at this moment, everyone knew that the situation was serious and did not hesitate. Quickly assigning tasks, all the cultivators quickly scattered in all directions and scattered to all the cities. First open city. Return my spirit stones. Return my spirit stones. Outside the city lord's mansion, there were nearly 700,000 cultivators. The originally arrogant city lord's mansion people were now trembling as they looked at the black mass of cultivators. Too terrifying. At this time, many people did not dare to open their mouths, because these 700,000 practitioners' minds were somewhat abnormal. All of them had ominous glints in their eyes. At this time, if anyone dared to say something wrong, they would definitely be cut into pieces by these 700,000 practitioners. These cultivators were all in the essence state, chi state, and spirit state, and there were many of them. The God Realm martial artists might not care about 25 upper-grade spirit stones, but this time, the impact was too great. The God Realm martial artists had disciples, descendants, and a large number of descendants. If each of their descendants had 25 upper-grade spirit stones, this amount would be huge. Even a God Realm expert would not be able to take it. Everyone stared at the city lord's mansion. Wang Qingshan's expression was extremely unsightly. His hands kept trembling. It seemed like the thing that Wang Qingshan did not want to think about really happened. Boom! At this time, more than 100 figures landed in the Castellan manor. Master? Wang Qingshan's face lit up. Wang Qingshan looked at the white-haired old man in surprise. However, the white-haired old man was standing behind another person. Ah, sect leader, sect leader, Wang Qingshan exclaimed in surprise. Shinkuin Kuroha coldly glanced at Wang Qingshan, then turned to look at the 700,000 civilians. It's Shinkuin Kuroha. It's the sect leader of the Great Winged Heaven School. Shinkuin Kuroha is here. The civilians immediately recognized Shinkuin Kuroha. Shinkuin Kuroha, please help us. Shinkuin Kuroha, my spirit stones are life-saving money. Shinkuin Kuroha, please let me return the house. The Great Winged Heaven School's prestige was still there, but Shinkuin Kuroha's prestige was even greater. Shinkuin Kuroha looked at the civilians. Although he disdained these people, he knew that he could not show it. Chapter 677. Enough! Shinkuin Kuroha shouted. The surroundings suddenly fell silent. Shinkuin Kuroha said, "Just now, I've already learned about it. As for the spiritual stones you've spent, I'll make the decision to confiscate them and return them to the East Money Bank. Long live the true Lord. Long live Shinkuin Kuroha." The common people all cheered. Boom! Whoosh! Large numbers of Shioja flew towards the East Money Bank. Everyone from Jidong Money Bank was caught in the blink of an eye. What is it? What is it? The group of people from Jidong Qianhang who had been captured struggled in surprise. Reporting, there are no spirit stones in the treasury of Jidong Qian Bank. There are only 100 high-grade spirit stones on the table. There are only a few spirit stones on the table. There's no storage. A group of Great Winged Heaven School disciples reported. Where's the money? Great Winged Heaven School's expression changed. Search again. Shinkuin Kuroha's expression suddenly changed. The surrounding commoners looked on in shock. Impossible, Jidong Qian Bank. How can there be no money inside? Jidong Qianhang, why is there no money? The people were extremely anxious. Quiet, Shinkuin Kuroha shouted. Shinkuin Kuroha shouted. Everyone looked at Shinkuin Kuroha. In front of Shinkuin Kuroha, there were dozens of bound cultivators. Shinkuin Kuroha narrowed his eyes. Where are the spirit stones from the East Qianhang? A bound man said, I don't know. You are from Jidong Qian Bank. How could you not know? Shinkuin Kuroha suppressed his anger. True Lord, don't you remember me? 10 years ago, when I went to the Great Winged Heaven School and failed to become a disciple, you told me to continue working hard. I'm from the first open city. I was born and raised here. Last year, in order to pay off the loan, I applied for a job at Jidong Qian Bank. I just joined Jidong Qian Bank last year. I don't know. The man who was tied up shouted anxiously. Shinkuin Kuroha's expression changed as a sense of uneasiness arose in his heart. What about the people who originally came to the East Money Bank? Who was the original owner of Jidong Qian House? Shinkuin Kuroha shouted at the dozens of bound practitioners. Everyone looked over, but there was none. The people from East Qianhang were all gone. It was as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. Shinku and Kuroha suddenly realized that this Ji-Dong money exchange was a scam. The commoners were waiting for Shinku and Kuroha to make the decision. However, Shinku and Kuroha's heart had already sunk to the bottom. Shinku and Kuroha turned his head to look at Wang Qingshan. Wang Qingshan trembled and said in horror, "Sect Master, I don't know. I really don't know. Where's the person in charge of the best under the heavens? Let him come over." Shinku and Kuroha said in a deep voice. "Quick, go get Mr. Liu." Wang Qingshan shouted. A large number of disciples rushed to the management office of the best under the heavens. Soon, another group of bound practitioners was brought over. "They are also cultivators born and raised in our first open city? How is that possible? Where is Mr. Liu? Where is Mr. Liu?" Wang Qingshan exclaimed. Among the Xiuzha that had been captured, there was no Mr. Liu. How could this be? Wang Qingshan said in horror. Shinku and Kuroha looked at this scene coldly. "You mean to say that the original group of people is all gone?" Shinku and Kuroha said coldly. "That's right. They must be hiding. They must be hiding. We must find them. We must find them," Wang Qingshan said in horror. Chapter 678. Around them, the 700,000 commoners all felt their moods plummet. Their hearts were filled with panic, as if all of them felt that this was a huge scam. This was too horrifying. If it was true, then this scam was too horrifying. At the same time, in the first batch of rooms in the best lodging house under the heavens, Zhang Xiao's figure shuddered as his eyes sprang open. The essence energy? Why did it shrink? That's not right. Where is the essence energy? Where is the essence energy that is 10 times that of my room? It's gone? Why is it gone? Aside from Zhang Xiao, countless cultivators came out of their rooms and looked at their surroundings in shock. The originally dense essence energy had returned to normal. "How can this be?" Zhang Xiao exclaimed. "Zhang Xiao, let's go." Someone called out from not far away. "Big Brother Li, what's going on?" Zhang Xiao asked out of curiosity. Earlier, the Great Winged Heaven School's people captured the manager of the best lodging house under the heavens. I did not know what happened at first. Now, the essence energy has disappeared, Big Brother Li said worriedly. "Ah, what? He was captured? Who wants to destroy the best lodging house under the heavens? I'll fight it out with him," Zhang Xiao said hatefully. Zhang Xiao quickly grabbed his treasure and followed the crowd to the city lord's residence. Originally, only 700,000 cultivators gathered. Now, as the situation spread, more and more cultivators gathered at the city lord's residence. As Shinku and Kuroha stood at the entrance to the city lord's residence, he felt his scalp tingle as he looked at the increasing number of cultivators outside. 700,000, 800,000, 900,000, 1,000,000, 1,100,000. The number of cultivators continued to increase. The area outside the city lord's residence turned noisy. Shinku and Kuroha suddenly discovered that the situation exceeded what he could handle. "How can it be like this? How can it be like this?" Wang Qingshan muttered. "Shinku and Kuroha, please uphold justice." The ordinary people shouted. Shinku and Kuroha looked at the 1,000,000-odd cultivators with an extremely unsightly expression. Then, he turned to look at Wang Qingshan and the others. "Why? Why is no one investigating such a major matter? Why didn't anyone report this to me?" Shinku and Kuroha said in a cold tone. Sect Master," Wang Qingshan stammered in fear. "Shinku and Kuroha, my grandfather discovered the problem long ago and came to report it. He was captured by Wang Qingshan. Shinku and Kuroha, my brother also found out. He wanted to report to the sect, but he was captured." Immediately, many commoners cried out. "Caught?" Shinku and Kuroha's face darkened. "As sect master, it's like this. Those..." Wang Qingshan tried to explain. "Men, bring all the captured people to me," Shinku and Kuroha shouted. Yes. Almost 300 shoujo were brought over as more and more people watched. The 300 shoujo were all covered in wounds and looked extremely pitiful. "Grandpa, brother, uncle, uncle, uncle." The sounds of Jiaohu came from the surroundings. When the 300 shoujo heard this, they immediately teared up. At the same time, They looked at Wang Qingshan with hatred. I knew that this day would come. I knew that I would report this to the city lord, but he would not allow it. I would report this to the sect master, and he would lock me up. I knew that this day finally came. A man covered in wounds said sorrowfully, "You are Huangbing, the manager of Datong restaurant?" Shinku and Kuroha recognized him. Chapter 679. Ha! Sect master has good eyesight. You only went to my restaurant once, and you recognized me. Unfortunately, Huangbing said with a complicated expression. You saw through me back then? Why didn't you report? Shinku and Kuroha said seriously. However, he suddenly shut up halfway. Huangbing had only ended up like this because he wanted to make a report. Huangbing, how much do you know? Tell me everything, Shinku and Kuroha said. Huangbing looked at the trembling Wang Qingshan and then at the white-clad old man behind Shinku and Kuroha. Suddenly, he revealed a hateful smile. Reporting to Shinku and Kuroha, although I don't know where the best hostel under the heavens and the East Qianhang went, I know where the spirit stones of all the citizens in the city are. Huangbing said. Ah! The surrounding citizens immediately cried out. Countless cultivators widened their eyes in shock. Excitement appeared on their faces. Oh! Shinku and Kuroha's eyes lit up. However, I don't dare to say it. I'm afraid that if I say it, I will be beheaded or even killed here, Huangbing said with a sorrowful expression. Shopkeeper Huang, just say it. If anyone dares to hurt you, we will fight it out with them. Shopkeeper Huang, just say it. Shinku and Kuroha will uphold justice for you. Shopkeeper Huang, where is my money? The 1,000,000 cultivators looked at Huangbing expectantly. Shinku and Kuroha said seriously, Huangbing, just say it. I promise you that nothing will happen to you. Huangbing nodded as everyone looked at him expectantly. Everyone, do you know how much the best hostel under the heavens sold for? Huangbing asked. I know. A batch of 5,000 houses costs a total of 125,000 superior-grade spirit stones. Someone immediately shouted. Huangbing nodded and continued. Everyone, do you know that 100,000 of the 125,000 superior-grade spirit stones entered the city lord's residence and the city lord, Wang Qingshan? Buzz! The surroundings suddenly fell silent. In other words, of the 25 upper spiritual stones that you handed over, 20 of them went into the city governor's mansion and passed through Wang Qingshan's hands. Huangbing continued. Who? Everyone looked at Wang Qingshan. Huangbing, you're slandering me? Wang Qingshan stammered. Haha, I'm slandering you? Although the city lord's residence is very secretive, there is no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Wang Qingshan, these disciples of yours all know about it, right? Shinku and Kuroha, you can check and see if I'm right. Huangbing guffawed. 25 high-grade spirit stones? There were 20 of them, and all of them were handed over to the city lord's mansion? The common people's thoughts suddenly changed. Their hatred suddenly turned to Wang Qingshan. No, it shouldn't be like this. Wang Qingshan was terrified. Shinku and Kuroha, the 25 upper spiritual stones were cheated by the Jidong money shop. I don't want them anymore. Shinku and Kuroha, please return the 20 upper spiritual stones that Wang Qingshan embezzled. Zhang Xiao suddenly shouted from the crowd. That's right. Since you have the money, you should return the spiritual stones to us first. 20 upper spiritual stones. Please, Lord Blackfeather. Shinku and Kuroha, please. No, I don't have that much money. I don't have it. Wang Qingshan fell to the ground, trembling. Huangbing sneered and said, You're lying. You can't fool anyone. You must have hidden it. The city lord's residence might have it. Chapter 680. That's right. Return the monies. Return the money. Countless cultivators in the surroundings roared. Shinku and Kuroha's face darkened. After pondering for a moment, he waved his hand. Behind him, a large number of palaces were lifted. Boom! The surroundings of the city lord residence were razed to the ground. At the same time, a massive formation was revealed. Within the formation, spirit stones were piled up like a small mountain. Long live, spirit stones! My spirit stones! My spirit stones are here! The commoners cheered. However, with the spirit stones piled up like a small mountain enough to split among the 2 million people in the city. Before the eyes of the commoners, the spirit stones were quickly lit up. Wang Qingshan trembled as he muttered, "I know now, Mr. Liu. You bastard. I was wondering why you all used low-grade spirit stones to settle the bill. So, it's because you want me to not be able to take it away. So it's because you want to scam me." Reporting to the sect leader, "We've calculated the total. There's a total of 10 billion low-tier spirit stones." A group of disciples reported, 10 billion low-tier spirit stones? That was only 1 million high-tier spirit stones? In other words, the commoners were only given half a high-tier spirit stone each, and the commoners were cheated out of 25 high-tier spirit stones. "Is there any more?" Shinkuin Kuroha asked with an awful expression. "And no more," Wang Qingshan exclaimed in shock. "How is that possible? How can there only be so little?" "Wang Qingshan, are you tired of living?" Shinkuin Kuroha said coldly. "Sect leader, please spare me. I still have the same amount of spirit stones back in the sect." Wang Qingshan exclaimed in fear. Even so, a commoner could only return a single high-tier spirit stone. No matter who it was, they knew that it was impossible for them to account for it. "What else? Where are the spirit stones?" Shinkuin Kuroha asked coldly. "I really don't have any more. I really don't have any more." Wang Qingshan exclaimed. "You're the one in charge of the spirit stones. Where are the spirit stones?" Shinkuin Kuroha asked coldly. "I gave half of them to the sect. There are still some in the sect's treasury." Wang Qingshan replied. And me, master. Wang Qingshan looked at Shi Wuya, who was not far away. Most of it was given to Wang Qingshan as a tribute to Shi Wuya, who then took care of it. At this moment, the people watched with cold faces. The prestige of the Great Winged Heaven School was being eroded by waves of hatred. "Citizens of the First Open City, just you wait. I, Shinkuin Kuroha, will give everyone justice. When I return to the sect, I will take back all the spirit stones. Everyone will receive the spirit stones according to the original contract." Shinkuin Kuroha promised. Yes. The commoners waited. The entire city searched for news of East Qianhang and number 1 under heaven, but Lu Gang, Yifeng, and the others had long since disappeared. Until 3 days later. Within the city, shopkeeper Huang, one of the Huang soldiers who had been imprisoned in the past, suddenly shouted, "Shiwia, they're escaping with my money. They're escaping. Chase after them." Huang Bing roared. The 2 million citizens almost went crazy in an instant. They quickly followed Huang Bing out of the city. Rumble, all of them grabbed their Dharma treasures, their eyes filled with madness. They surrounded the group of people who were escaping. Although Shi Wuya, Wang Qingshan, and the others had high cultivation, many people were watching them. Even the inner disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School had been screwed over by number 1 under heaven. How could they let them escape? The lower void realm expert, Shi Wuya, led Wang Qingshan and the other cultivators to escape towards the west with a huge mountain of spirit stones. Soon, they couldn't escape anymore. Only 200 people escaped. However, they were surrounded by 2 million people. Among the 2 million people, there were countless experts. Chapter 681. The Opening of the City. The founder of the number 1 dormitory under the heavens had disappeared, and the entire city was short on spirit stones. Who would still spend 1,000 high-grade spirit stones every month to set up a formation? For a time, the people who had originally bought the house came out. Every day, they hoped that the Great Winged Heaven School would return their spirit stones. The entire city was waiting. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Within the city, shopkeeper Huang, one of the Huang soldiers who had been imprisoned in the past, suddenly shouted, "Shiwia, they're running away with my money. They're running away. Chase after them." Huang Bing roared. His voice pierced through the 9 heavens. Horse and horse. The people waiting for the Great Winged Heaven School to distribute their spirit stones suddenly quivered. They didn't need to organize themselves at all. They took out their Dharma treasures and rushed out. Over there, quick, over there. The city's vigorous encirclement and suppression began. Countless cultivators were defending their own spirit stones, who would not work hard. As for Huang Bing, who had been shouting earlier, he was now in a remote corner. In the corner stood another man. Qianhu, I've endured the humiliation, and finally, Huang Bing smiled. Captain Huang, we remember everything you've done. From the time you went to the city lord's mansion to the time you were sent to prison, to the time you caused trouble at the Great Winged Heaven School. Everything has been recorded. Once everything is settled and you are rewarded for your contributions, you will be on the same level as me. Perhaps you can even become my superior. When the time comes, I'll need you to take care of me. The man smiled. I wouldn't dare, Huang Bing said immediately. Huang Baihu, don't be modest. Let's continue. What's next is the most important. The people who escaped are the best opportunities. Let me tell you, they're the first batch of city lords to escape, said the man. Huang Bing's eyes lit up. The first batch was extremely important. Once it was dealt with properly, it would definitely be a great merit. Thank you for your reminder, Qianhu. I will go now, Huang Bing immediately replied. Take care. Qianhu nodded. Grabbing the Dharma treasure, Huang Bing immediately rushed out. Great Jin Dynasty, Yinjing, in the palace. Rumbling sounds could be heard from all directions in the palace. The commoners in the distance all looked over. At this moment, the palace was surrounded by a thick fog. This is heavenly tribulation. I know it's the heavenly tribulation. But why is the palace surrounded by fog? It's the emperor's tribulation, the commoners said in shock. At the same time, they all looked at him with excitement and admiration. Great Jun unified 60 cities and annihilated the 4 sections. The imperial power had unified the world and achieved great fame. In this area, it was like the sun in the midday sky. A large number of cultivators from the 60 immortal cities headed to the Yin capital. There were more and more Xiuzha in Yinjing. At this moment, countless cultivators could see the tribulation. In the palace, a large number of imperial bodyguards stood guard in all directions. The Great Formation was activated, and a thick fog filled the air. She carried Miao and stood in front of Skyward Hall, looking at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan stood in the square of Skyward Hall, looking up at the sky. In the sky, dark clouds gathered and rolled. The power of the 39 heavenly tribulations pressed down as if it was going to destroy everything below. Boom! 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 27 bolts of heavenly thunder were like 27 lightning dragons. They rushed down fiercely, and the surrounding void was electrolyzed into a blur. Chapter 682. Standing below, it was as if one could see 27 ferocious dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they swooped down from the clouds. They brought with them a destructive aura as if they were going to tear Yin Chuan apart. Roar! Yin Chuan glared at the sky and roared. The huge roar carried a destructive aura as it rushed towards the 27 lightning dragons. The roar carried an unparalleled might, as if this roar was going to command the world. The might in the roar was very strange. It was filled with an irresistible dominance. Bai Ditian, who was outside the palace, was looking at the palace curiously. However, Yin Chuan's roar caused Bai Ditian's expression to change. And Bai Ditian realized that this roar was unusual. He stomped his foot. Swish! Bai Ditian instantly arrived at the entrance of the Skyward Palace. She glanced at Bai Ditian and ignored him. She looked at Yin Chuan again and continued to transcend the tribulation. When Bai Ditian arrived at the entrance of the Skyward Palace, he immediately saw the wonders of this roar. Amidst the roar, the 27 lightning dragons were swallowed by Yin Chuan. The 27 lightning tails that filled the sky were swallowed by Yin Chuan. This scene shocked even Bai Ditian. The lightning entered his stomach? Is Yin Chuan trying to temper his organs? Bai Ditian was confused. Roar! Yin Chuan let out another loud roar. Suddenly, a huge lightning ball erupted around his body. Countless lightning bolts circled around him, forming a vast magnetic force that violently sucked in the tribulation clouds in the sky. Rumble! The 39 tribulation clouds were pulled down by Yin Chuan amidst the rumbling sounds. The tribulation clouds descended and slowly approached the skyward palace plaza. Roar! After a loud roar, the 39 tribulation clouds finally arrived at Yin Chuan's mouth. As Yin Chuan stared, the 39 tribulation clouds seemed to be struggling violently. Rumble! The vast tribulation clouds were being devoured by Yin Chuan ferociously. More and more tribulation clouds entered Yin Chuan's body, and Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with lightning. Swallowing the tribulation clouds? Bai Ditian let out a sigh. No wonder the palace was covered in fog. Tribulation swallowing cloud? Huh. Mou Shi's eyes were filled with adoration and tenderness. Rumble! The tribulation cloud struggled, but it still couldn't escape Yin Chuan's heaven-swallowing spear. First heaven tribulation cloud, devour. Second heaven tribulation cloud, devour. Now it was the third tribulation cloud, and Yin Chuan was still swallowing it. Yin Chuan, Bai Long, Rosefinch, and Xuanwu went through the second tribulation together. Yin Chuan didn't even let go of their fourth tribulation, let alone the third tribulation. It didn't take much effort for Yin Chuan to swallow the rolling tribulation clouds into his stomach. Rumble! Lightning flashed around Yin Chuan. After swallowing the tribulation cloud, Yin Chuan stood there and digested it. Rumble! 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 2 hours later, Yin Chuan's body rumbled. Then, the lightning surrounding Yin Chuan slowly dissipated. Yin Chuan opened his eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at Mou Shi and Bai Ditian, who were at the entrance of the Skyward Palace, and smiled faintly. You swallowed the tribulation cloud. What's your cultivation level? Meow. Meow immediately shouted. First tier divine state. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Meow? This doesn't make sense. Others who were struck by lightning until they were half dead are first tier divine state. Why are you the same? You swallowed the tribulation clouds. Meow meow exclaimed. Yin Chuan smiled and didn't explain. Chapter 683. Bai Ditian looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. I heard that the Great Winged Heaven School's 100th city was destroyed by you? Great Jin and Great Feather are about to start a war? Bai Ditian frowned. Yes, soon. Hua Guang is at the border, and he's almost done gathering. Yin Chuan smiled. Even if you have the Golden Dragon of Providence, you can't deal with the founder of the Great Winged Heaven School. That true Lord Great Feather isn't someone you can deal with. Do you need me to help? Bai Ditian frowned. Yin Chuan smiled. No need. I'm already prepared. Oh. Bai Ditian looked confused. Bai Ditian also understood the ultimate strength of the Great Winged Heaven School. The previous sect master, True Lord White Feather, and the founder, True Lord Great Feather. Even if Yin Chuan had the power of the entire nation, he wouldn't be a match for them. Plus, Mou Shi, that wouldn't be enough. Yin Chuan looked at Mou Shi. Qing Long and White Tiger have already gone to welcome them. They should arrive tomorrow. Mou Shi said. That's good. Yin Chuan nodded. In the outskirts of First Kai City, almost 2 million Xiuzhe surrounded the 200 people that were fleeing. Shi Wuya and Wang Qingshan fought back, but the citizens of First Kai City had already gone crazy. Although Shi Wuya was a lower void realm cultivator, there were nearly 100 deity realm cultivators surrounding him. Stealing our spirit stones is our life. Kill him, kill him. The battle became more and more intense. Several hours later, even Shi Wuya was covered in injuries from the array set up by the deity realm cultivators. Boom! Shi Wuya lost an arm and a leg. On the other hand, Huang Bing gently plucked a ring from Shi Wuya's severed arm. The storage ring is in my hand. I've already gotten it, Huang Bing yelled. You're asking for death. You bastards. Shi Wuya was dying. We're courting death? You're the ones who are courting death by snatching our spirit stones. Huang Bing shouted coldly. Everyone, please gather the spirit stones. We'll divide them equally. Huang Bing called out again. Good. The 2 million practitioners immediately said excitedly. Several spirit stone mountains were quickly distributed. As for Shi Wuya, Wang Qingshan, and the others, they were on the verge of death. Kill them, kill them, some people shouted. Don't! Huang Bing immediately stopped everyone. Although the cultivators hated Shi Wuya and Wang Qingshan, Huang Bing still had a certain amount of prestige. At the very least, if not for Huang Bing's shout, they would still be in the dark. Therefore, even though many people wanted to kill Shi Wuya and Wang Qingshan, they still asked Huang Bing for permission. Swish! At this moment, dozens of figures descended. It was Shin Kuin Kuroha, who had rushed over after hearing the news. Sect leader, save me! Wang Qingshan cried out in grief. Shin Kuin Kuroha looked at the surrounding mountains of spirit stones and the group of people lying on the ground. What's going on? You want to leave with the spirit stones? Shin Kuin Kuroha said coldly. Sect leader, I've already used the spirit stones to bribe the senior brothers and junior brothers. You want us to gather the spirit stones that we can't collect? How can we do that? We can't, Shi Wuya said bitterly. Sect leader, many of the senior brothers' spirit stones have already been deposited in the East Money Bank. They can't take them out either, Wang Qingshan said bitterly. So you want to leave with these spirit stones? Shin Kuin Kuroha's expression was extremely ugly. Sect leader, we're already in such a miserable state. Please let us go, Shi Wuya said bitterly. In the past, the Great Winged Heaven School was an emptiness realm expert. How did they end up like this? How did they lose an arm and a leg? Chapter 684. We can't let them go. They were the ones who stole our spirit stones. Huang Bing yelled. That's right. We haven't gotten our spirit stones back yet. They can't just let it go. Many people agreed with Huang Bing. Shin Kuin Kuroha frowned at Huang Bing. Shin Kuin Kuroha, all 100 of our cities belong to the Great Winged Heaven School. We beg the Great Winged Heaven School to give us justice, so that we can continue to support the Great Winged Heaven School. We don't blame the Great Winged Heaven School for this incident, because you, Shin Kuin Kuroha, didn't know about it at all. However, we can't let these people who stole our spirit stones and harmed us off the hook. Huang Bing said, Shin Kuin Kuroha, please be fair. Millions of people shouted together. What was the trend of the times? The pleading of millions of people was the trend of the times. Shin Kuin Kuroha suddenly hesitated. Should he go against the will of the people? When Huang Bing saw Shin Kuin Kuroha's hesitation, he immediately said, Shin Kuin Kuroha, these people ran away with the spirit stones. Does that mean that they took your words for granted? They've already chosen to betray the Great Winged Heaven School? Huang Bing's words seemed to have hit Shin Kuin Kuroha's sore spot. These people had always been disobedient, and he had long wanted to punish them. Also, they had betrayed the sect. Yes, they had already betrayed the sect. Shin Kuin Kuroha immediately steeled his resolve. I've heard of the Great Winged Heaven School's rules. Betrayers should be executed. Not only did these people betray the sect, but they also harmed the people of First Kai City. Shin Kuin Kuroha, please let us deal with them. Huang Bing shouted. Shin Kuin Kuroha, please grant us our wish. The people shouted. Shin Kuin Kuroha coldly looked at Shi Wuya and the others. All right, Shin Kuin Kuroha nodded. Then, Shin Kuin Kuroha led a group of people and slowly flew away. No! Sect leader, save me! Wang Qingshan cried out in grief. Sect leader, don't leave me behind. I know I was wrong. Everyone was shouting wildly, but Shin Kuin Kuroha did not care at all. He had only himself to blame, so why should he save him? Moreover, it could quench the anger of the people and allow him to further control the Great Winged Heaven School. Why would he care? Shin Kuin Kuroha quickly flew away. However, with this departure, Shin Kuin Kuroha had placed the entire Great Winged Heaven School in an irrecoverable situation. Huang Bing's eyes flashed as he watched Shin Kuin Kuroha leave. He turned his head and looked at Shi Wuya and the others. Then, he looked at the people. Everyone, I stopped you just now to prevent you from offending the Great Winged Heaven School. I'm very sorry. Now, the Great Winged Heaven School has agreed to execute this group of people. Everything is up to you. Huang Bing shouted to the people. Thank you, Shopkeeper Huang. Shopkeeper Huang is very thoughtful. The people sighed and looked at Shi Wuya with hatred in their eyes. These people deserve to die. No, we have to force them to tell us where the rest of the money is. Also, these people have to be cut into pieces. Hatred made the people think of countless ways to torture Wang Qingshan and the others. At the same time, the news of today's events quickly spread in all directions. Shinkuin Kuroha, kill one as an example to the rest. Shinkuin Kuroha, purge the Great Winged Heaven School. Shinkuin Kuroha, selfless, investigate the matter of corruption with all your might. Anyone who participated in the distribution of the Spirit Stones in the world's #1 store must be executed. This is only the first wave. Next, everyone who participated in the corruption in the 100 cities will be executed. The news spread quickly. It spread to the 100 cities and reached the ears of the cultivators who had not escaped. No, Shibuya is already dead. Is it my turn next? Some Great Winged Heaven School disciples said in fear. Oh my God, Shibuya took out so many Spirit Stones and was executed. My Spirit Stones were all stored in the East Money Bank and were cheated. If I can't take out the Spirit Stones, won't I die even more? No, I can't give my Spirit Stones to those unruly people. Stay in the Great Winged Heaven School and wait for death. I have Spirit Stones. Can't I cultivate anywhere? I have so many Spirit Stones. Can't I go far away? I have Spirit Stones. Leave the Great Winged Heaven School, and I can cultivate quickly. I have Spirit Stones. What's there to be afraid of? The world is big. Stay here and wait for death. Bah! Shibuya and Wang Qingshan were executed for fleeing. Not only did that not stop the disciples of the Great Feather Heavenly Sect from having such thoughts, it became a wave that grew more and more intense. More and more cultivators fled with the sect's wealth. Leave the Great Winged Heaven School. The second round of the Great Winged Heaven School's collapse began. The people's hearts were scattered. Chapter 685. The Great Winged Heaven School. The Great Winged Heaven School was near the sea, so there were many Great Winged Heaven School disciples living on the islands near the sea. On one of the islands, inside a palace covered with dense formations, there were more than 10 people standing in the main hall. The leader was an old man with white eyebrows. Master, the sect master has ordered us to return all the Spirit Stones to those unruly people, a cultivator said respectfully. The old man with white eyebrows narrowed his eyes. What's Shinkuin Kuroha? When Master reached the emptiness realm, he was still in the immortal realm. He's just a dog of Emperor Moku. How dare he order Master around? Another person said. The old man with white eyebrows raised his eyebrows. Clearly, this was a thorn in his heart. Master, our Spirit Stones are all with you. Should we return them? Another person said. Everyone looked at the old man with white eyebrows. The old man with white eyebrows slowly walked out of the main hall and looked at the area covered by the array. With a wave of his sleeve, mountains of Spirit Stones appeared in front of everyone. Instantly, everyone's breathing quickened, including the old man with white eyebrows. People often said that cultivators cultivated the true self and were not disturbed by external things. That was because external objects had not reached the level of tempting cultivators. If cultivators really had no desires, they would not pursue to become immortals and attain the Tao. In comparison, this group of people's desires were even stronger. Spirit Stones? In the past, a small treasury of Spirit Stones might not be a big deal, but what about these mountains of Spirit Stones? Are we really going to return them to those unruly people? Those unruly people only have themselves to blame. These Spirit Stones are what we deserve. Don't we want these Spirit Stones? Everyone murmured. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure flew over. Master, Master, that person called out. HM? The old man with white eyebrows looked at him. Shinku and Kuroha destroyed Shibuya's line. That person said worriedly. What? The old man with white eyebrows raised his eyebrows. That person quickly told him what he knew. How cruel! The white-browed old man said with a cold look in his eyes. Master, even if we hand over all our Spirit Stones, it still won't be enough. Master, what should we do? Shibuya and the others didn't escape. Everyone looked at the white-browed old man worriedly. The white-browed elder narrowed his eyes and said, Shibuya is right. With these spirit stones, we can start a new sect. With my cultivation, it's not impossible for me to compete for the Tiansu. I can even join an inferior sect first, and then steal the position of sect leader. With these spirit mountains, your cultivation will only advance by leaps and bounds in the future. The old man with white eyebrows said. Everyone's eyes gradually lit up. Master, but Shibuya didn't escape. A disciple said worriedly. He didn't escape because he was stupid. Why did they have to travel by land? We can travel from the bottom of the sea. Who will know that we have left? The white-browed elder said in a deep voice. Yes, Master is wise. Master is wise. Everyone said excitedly. On another island, another red-browed emptiness realm expert looked at the spirit stone mountain in front of him. Master, our line didn't control any of the major cities. It has nothing to do with us. A disciple said with a smile. The red-browed emptiness realm expert shook his head and said, No, although we didn't take over 100 cities, we received more spirit stones. In order to take over the position of city leader, they spent a large amount of spirit stones to bribe me. They gave me quite a lot, but not as much as they had. However, I'm not stupid. I helped them not just one city, but 10 city leaders. I received more spirit stones than them, the red-browed emptiness realm expert said in a deep voice. Chapter 686. Then, Master, these spirit stones? Once their spirit stones are emptied by the sect master, we will be next. Do you think you can take back the spirit stones that are already in my hands? The red-browed virtual realm expert said coldly. Master, let's go. Inform all of you to come here. Tonight, we will leave from the bottom of the sea. With these spirit stones, we can go anywhere. The red-browed virtual realm expert said in a deep voice. Yes. Wait, the red-browed virtual realm expert suddenly narrowed his eyes. What's wrong? Master? Master and a few senior brothers are in charge of the Great Winged Heaven School's spirit stone storage. Those are the collective spirit stones of the Great Winged Heaven School. However, now that we are leaving, why should we leave with them? Take those spirit stones and leave together. The red-browed virtual realm expert shouted. Yes. In a dense forest in the Great Winged Heaven School. Master, our spirit stones have all been deposited in the Jidong Money Bank. What are we going to do now that the bank is gone? Master, Shibuya handed over so many spirit stones, but he was executed by Shinkoin Kuroha. What will happen to us if we can't hand over the spirit stones? Master, Shinkoin Kuroha is urging us again today. Everyone looked at a bald old man. The bald old man's expression was ugly. Let's go. Let's hide outside. Okay. A month later, the city opened for business. The citizens of the city were waiting for news from the Great Winged Heaven School. However, a month had passed, and the spirit stones from the Great Winged Heaven School had yet to be distributed. On average, each citizen had only received 3 superior-grade spirit stones. These spirit stones were obtained by fighting for them. They were obtained by the citizens themselves. None of the spirit stones from the Great Winged Heaven School came into their accounts. The citizens were getting more and more anxious. Their respect for the Great Winged Heaven School gradually dissipated, and even resentment appeared. Oh no! Suddenly, a voice sounded in the city. What's wrong? Shopkeeper Huang. Everyone looked at Huang Bing. They fled. All the city lords and emptiness realm experts fled with our spirit stones, Jiahu said. Ah, we worked hard to get some spirit stones back, but many cities didn't have any spirit stones at all. They all gathered at the Great Winged Heaven School. What? They went to the Great Winged Heaven School to ask for the spirit stones. Many of them ran away with the spirit stones. Now the Great Winged Heaven School is giving us less and less spirit stones. If we don't go now, the spirit stones will be taken by people from other cities. Quick, let's go and ask for the spirit stones. Huang Bing shouted. All right, The news of the various city lords escaping could not be concealed at all. When they were gone, the Great Winged Heaven School's internal department spread the news. How could the people not be anxious? Under the instigation of Huang Bing and the others, the commoners quickly gathered towards the Great Winged Heaven School. Of the 200 million cultivators, more than 100 million rushed towards the Great Winged Heaven School. Inside the Great Winged Heaven School, Shinkuin Koha stood on a floating island and looked down at the black mass of figures in the distance. More than 100 million, almost 200 million? This number was too terrifying. Where are they? Where are they? I gave them time to gather the spirit stones. But where are they now? Shinkuin Koha shouted angrily. I don't know. They are all gone. A cultivator loyal to Shinkin Kuroha said bitterly. Sect Master, what do we do now? Someone asked worriedly. First, take out the spirit stone storage of the Great Winged Heaven School and appease this group of unruly people. Shinkuin Kuroha said with an ugly expression. Although he looked down on this group of unruly people, there were too many of them. Almost 200 million? Thinking about it, Shinkuin Kuroha's face darkened. Sect Master, not good, not good. A disciple flew over. What's wrong? Shinkin Kuroha said with an ugly expression. The uncle masters guarding the storage are gone. The disciple said with an ugly expression. What? Shinkuin Kuroha's expression changed. 60% of our sect's treasures have been stolen by them. The disciple said in horror. Bastard, bastard. Shinkuin Kuroha shouted angrily. At the border of the Great Jun dynasty, on a huge platform, Huguang held up an imperial edict. The emperor has decreed that the troops will attack the Great Winged Heaven School. Huguang shouted. Roar! Roar! Roars shook the sky. The attack had begun. Great Jin Dynasty, Yinjing. Skyward Palace. The doors of the palace were tightly shut. Yifeng had mobilized a large number of troops to guard the palace. No one was allowed to come close. Qing Long and Bai Long were guarding the door, not budging an inch. In the Skyward Palace, a large number of luminous pearls lit up the palace. In the palace, other than Yin Chuan's dragon throne, there were 6 other thrones. A total of 7 thrones were arranged in a circle. Yin Chuan, Mou Shi, and 5 well-dressed, dignified men. Everyone please sit, Yin Chuan said with a smile. The 5 of them looked at Yin Chuan curiously. Their eyes were shining. Mou Shi was the first to sit down. Everyone looked at each other and sat down slowly. Only Yin Chuan stood among the group. This time, I invited Sanus Mou Shi and all of you here. Thank you for giving me face, Yin Chuan said with a smile. I'm just giving face to Sanus Shi. You, Yin Chuan, displayed your brilliance at the Heavens Bestowment Conference. I've always wanted to see what kind of person this sorrowful, tearful goddess is. She's the one who suppressed the scholars and forced Tao Lord Black Sun back. A red-robed man laughed. What's the matter? Just say it. Another man with a cold face said lightly. Yin Chuan nodded. I'd like to invite all of you to destroy the Great Winged Heaven School with me. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Huh? Destroy the Great Winged Heaven School with you? Why should we? We don't have any relationship with you. Why should we help you? Help the Great Jun Dynasty? Why should we help you become stronger? The 5 of them shook their heads and looked at Yin Chuan. Perfected cultivators, please listen to me, Yin Chuan said with a smile. Everyone I've invited is a perfected cultivator from a middle-level sect. There's even a sect leader among them. All of you are middle void stage experts. Yin Chuan is very grateful that you can come. Please listen to what I'm about to say. If you don't think it's enough for you to stay and help me, I, Yin Chuan, won't force you. Everything will go according to your wishes. How about that? Yin Chuan said with a smile. Oh? Everyone looked at Yin Chuan indifferently. Chapter 687. Great Jun Dynasty, Skyward Hall. 5 Middle Void Realm experts looked at Yin Chuan with interest. I know that your sects have no feud with the Great Winged Heaven School. Similarly, you don't wish for another powerful sect to rise in the East Divine Continent. This is human nature. Why would you go against the Great Winged Heaven School for the sake of the Great Jin Dynasty? Yin Chuan said with a smile. The five nodded. Indeed. Why would they help the Great Jin dynasty? Your sect's territories are not adjacent to the Great Jin dynasty. Moreover, there is a Middle Void Realm sect in between. I believe that you don't like the neighboring sects. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Oh. The red-robed expert smiled faintly. I have investigated the surrounding sections. I know that the Middle Void Realm sects adjacent to the Great Jin dynasty have conflicts with your sections. Due to the differences in territories, the sects sometimes draw their swords at each other. I just want to emphasize a fact. If the Great Jin dynasty becomes powerful, it will only be beneficial to the five sections. This is because the Great Jin dynasty will only share the hatred from the other sects. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Everyone narrowed their eyes. Although they were tempted, they couldn't be persuaded by Yin Chuan with just a few words. Everyone, am I wrong? Yin Chuan looked at everyone with a smile. It seems reasonable. If the Great Jin dynasty becomes powerful, it won't be a big problem for us. However, why should we help you? The red-robed expert said lightly. Everyone nodded. Yin Chuan smiled and looked at the red-robed expert. Perhaps I was too hasty. Let's put it another way. I would like to invite all of you to cooperate with me. Cooperate? The red-robed expert narrowed his eyes. I believe that all of you know that the Great Winged Heaven School has 5 pseudo-immortal artifacts. This is also the reason why I invited the 5 of you. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Oh, the 5 pseudo-immortal artifacts? Is it for us? The red-robed expert asked with interest. It was impossible to say that one would not be tempted by a quasi-immortal weapon. After all, a middle-level sect would only have a few at most. However, how much would he have to pay for that? That's right, 5 quasi-fairy artifacts. Yin Chuan, don't need any of them. You can divide them among yourselves. What you need to do is to stall Perfected Lord Diyu for me and bring him to Yin Jin half a month later for me to fight with him. That's enough, Yin Chuan said with a smile. You? The red-robed expert laughed. Everyone looked at Yin Chuan in disbelief. Yin Chuan's cultivation was at the first stage of the God realm. Everyone saw it clearly. If it weren't for Mo Yushi, the 5 of them could easily kill Yin Chuan. But Yin Chuan said that he wanted to fight Perfected Lord Diyu alone. Of course, you can also use your names to invite Perfected Lord Diyu for tea and chess. After half a month, when the situation is settled, you don't have to do anything. I'll fight Perfected Lord Diyu, Yin Chuan said again. Everyone was slightly moved. It wasn't difficult to stall Perfected Lord Diyu. They didn't want to risk their lives. The 5 of them could only stall Perfected Lord Diyu for half a month. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Half a month? Can the Jin dynasty destroy the Great Winged Heaven School? The red-robed expert said with a hint of disbelief. That's right, Yin Chuan said with certainty. I don't believe it. The red-robed expert shook his head. Oh, what if you can't destroy the Great Winged Heaven School and Perfected Lord Diyu? Let the 5 sects become enemies with the Great Winged Heaven School? The red-robed expert said. Chapter 688. Yin Chuan smiled and said, Since the Great Jin dynasty and the Great Winged Heaven School are officially at war, if Lord Diyu doesn't die, the Great Jin dynasty will be destroyed. Why would I gamble with the future of the Great Jin dynasty? So please rest assured that I will kill Lord Diyu. I know what you're thinking. Becoming enemies with the Great Winged Heaven School? I think it won't be much. If the Great Jin dynasty fails, I will compensate you with this sword. How about it? Buzz! The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly flew out and danced around the main hall. Sword spirit? Quasi-mortal weapon? Good treasure. The 5 people's expressions changed. If I lose, I will compensate you with this sword. Although there is only one sword, it is enough to make up for the enmity between you and Lord Diyu. If I win, the Great Winged Heaven School will give you all 5 quasi-mortal weapons. How about it? Yin Chuan said affirmatively. In the main hall, everyone was silent. The Great Winged Heaven School. It had been more than 2 months. The practitioners outside the Great Winged Heaven School had been waiting here for more than 2 months. Hundreds of cities were empty. Countless people came, waiting for the great winged heaven school to fulfill its promise. However, at this moment, the great winged heaven school was in chaos. Sect Master, a man ran into Shinkuin Kuroha's main hall. How is it? Shinkuin Kuroha asked anxiously. They ran away. Many senior brothers ran away. The Great Winged Heaven School originally had 300 virtual realm experts. Now, 200 of them have left. They also took their disciples with them. There are only 100 virtual realm experts left. The man said worriedly. The Great Winged Heaven School is only left with 1/3 of the original? Shinkuin Kuroha's expression changed. Yes, only 1/3 of the original, but those 2/3 of the disciples took away 90% of the spirit stones of the Great Winged Heaven School. The man said with an ugly expression. Bastard! Pa! Shinkuin Kuroha smashed the table with his palm. There are still 100 emptiness realm experts left, but most of them are in seclusion. That person said. Shinkuin Kuroha narrowed his eyes. Also, some of those unruly people had a conflict with our Great Winged Heaven School's disciples. These days, there's been a round every day, but they've all been raped. That person said. Are the unruly people rebelling? Shinkuin Kuroha asked with an ugly expression. Without spirit stones to pacify them, their emotions are getting more and more intense. I'm worried that this group of unruly people will really break into the Great Winged Heaven School. That person said worriedly. Tell them to come out of seclusion. Tell everyone to come out of seclusion. Shinkuin Kuroha's expression was extremely ugly. Yes. Outside the Great Winged Heaven School. Give me back my spirit stones. Give me back my spirit stones. Countless practitioners shouted at the Great Winged Heaven School. On the ground, there were 100 corpses. These 100 corpses were too few compared to the nearly 200 million practitioners. However, these 100 corpses seemed to give everyone a psychological hint. The corpses were not collected. They just lay there breaking the hearts of countless practitioners. Grandpa, we don't want our spirit stones anymore. We don't want them anymore. Great Winged Heaven School, you killed my big brother. I'm going to fight it out with you. Give us back our spirit stones. Give them back to us. Give them back to me. I want to buy a reconstruction pill. I want to save my brother. This group of cries tore apart the last bit of respect people had for the Great Winged Heaven School. At this moment, the crowd continued to riot. There were people who wanted to rush over, but they were stopped by some people. Shopkeeper Huang, don't stop me. They killed my brother. I want revenge. A practitioner shouted. Chapter 689. Huang Bing stopped him and shook his head. Zhang Xiao, you'll just be throwing your life away if you go. Believe in Shinkuin Kuroha. He'll definitely give you justice. Huang Bing and the others blocked Zhang Xiao. On the other side, the Great Winged Heaven School disciples held their swords and blocked Zhang Xiao's path. They had been very courageous before, but when they saw the bloodshot and hateful gazes, the Great Winged Heaven School disciples trembled. If it weren't for people like Huang Bing stopping them, they would have already gone on a rampage. But why hasn't Shinkuin Kuroha shown up yet? Zhang Xiao lamented. Everyone nodded at Zhang Xiao's words. Indeed, it had been more than 2 months. Why hasn't Shinkuin Kuroha come out yet? Shinkuin Kuroha! We want to see Shinkuin Kuroha! Shinkuin Kuroha! Shinkuin Kuroha! For a moment, a wave of voices soared into the sky. How spectacular was it to hear more than 100 million people roaring? The vast sound waves caused the ears of countless cultivators to ring. The voices even reached the interior of the Great Winged Heaven School. Inside, Shinkuin Kuroha was instructing everyone on what to do. Suddenly, a terrifying wave of voices swept over. Shinkuin Kuroha? This was the voice of Shinkuin Kuroha. It was so loud that it pierced the 9 heavens. Shinkuin Kuroha's face turned ugly, but he still stepped out of the main hall. He stepped onto a floating island and flew out of the Great Winged Heaven School. Shinkuin Kuroha knew that if he didn't show up for a long time, a huge riot would definitely happen. Finally, Shinkuin Kuroha showed up. The 100 million cultivators all quieted down. Shinkuin Kuroha could clearly feel that this time, everyone was no longer looking at him with respect. Instead, They were looking at him with hatred. Shinku and Kuroha looked at the 100 corpses in front of them. What's going on? Shinku and Kuroha shouted at the nearby disciples. Sect leader, they won't let us deal with them. They want you to uphold justice. A disciple said with an ugly expression. Shinku and Kuroha's eyelids twitched violently. Shinku and Kuroha, my grandfather was killed by someone from your sect. You have to give me an explanation. Shinku and Kuroha, my elder brother was killed by them. Call them out. I want revenge. Shinku and Kuroha, hand over the murderer. Hateful voices could be heard all around. Shinku and Kuroha had already missed the last opportunity. This time, if he handed over the Great Winged Heaven School's disciples, the Great Winged Heaven School would be completely destroyed. Shinku and Kuroha was at a loss for words when a voice rang out. We'll talk about the murderer later. Huang Bing shouted. Shinku and Kuroha's heart relaxed when he heard Huang Bing shout. A good person. Shinku and Kuroha, where are the spirit stones you promised me? It's been more than 3 months, and we've been here for more than 2 months. Why haven't we seen any spirit stones? Huang Bing shouted. Shinku and Kuroha's expression turned ugly again. Everyone, there are traitors in the Great Winged Heaven School. They stole the spirit stones from the Great Winged Heaven School and are now on the run. I don't have any spirit stones to give you. But don't worry, I'll get them back and give you an explanation. Shinku and Kuroha shouted. Excuses! Excuses! Is the Great Winged Heaven School not going to return the spirit stones to us? Huang Bing shouted angrily. Return my spirit stones! Return my spirit stones! The people were seething with resentment. At this moment, all the citizens looked as if they were about to explode. Their eyes were bloodshot, as if they were waiting for a powerful person to give the order to charge into the Great Winged Heaven School. Shinku and Kuroha wanted nothing more than to slap Huang Bing to death, but Shinku and Kuroha didn't. If Shinku and Kuroha made a move, it would prove that he was going to renege on the debt, and the citizens' resentment would be unquenchable. The nearly 200 million citizens would definitely explode. Shinku and Kuroha was furious. But at this moment, Shinku and Kuroha suddenly saw a scene that made Shinku and Kuroha's heart turn cold. A huge flag appeared in the distance behind the nearly 200 million cultivators. Shinku and Kuroha saw a large Zhan character. In addition to this large flag, there was also an army of 3 million slowly marching over. 3 million soldiers were too few for the 100 million citizens. However, this orderly troop, fully clad in armor, exuded a ferocious aura. At the front was a dragon platform. On the dragon platform, Yin Chuan sat on the dragon throne, his eyes cold. Chapter 690. Yin Chuan. Shinku and Kuroha suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Yin Chuan didn't come earlier or later. Why did he come at this time? The Great Winged Heaven School was at its most critical moment. Why did he come at this time? Great Zhen Dynasty? 3 million soldiers? In the past, Shinku and Kuroha wouldn't have cared about them. But now, Shinku and Kuroha couldn't help but change his expression. However, even though Shinku and Kuroha's expression was ugly, he didn't lose his composure. After all, the foundation of the Great Winged Heaven School wasn't something that the newly established Great Zhen Dynasty could compare to. Shinku and Kuroha shouted, and the people who were on the verge of a riot all turned their heads to look. Great Zhen Dynasty? Many people revealed curious expressions. It wasn't that the cultivators didn't know about the Great Zhen Dynasty. On the contrary, it was the Great Zhen Dynasty that forced the Great Winged Heaven School to redivide its territory 15 years ago. The Great Winged Heaven School's territory was instantly reduced by half. Don't underestimate this small half. It left a deep impression on the people who didn't know. To be able to force the Great Winged Heaven School to shrink its territory, the Great Zhen Dynasty must be incomparably powerful. There was also news that the 100 affiliated sects of the Great Winged Heaven School were all destroyed by the Great Zhen Dynasty. This wasn't a secret at all. The Great Winged Heaven School couldn't even protect its own affiliated sects. The image of the Great Zhen Dynasty was extremely important in the hearts of the people. Great Zhao Holy Ground. Holy Maiden Yushi? Immediately, someone recognized Mo Yushi. who was beside Yin Chuan. The surrounding people suddenly fell silent. If the people were unfamiliar with the Great Jin dynasty, then the Great Zhao Holy Ground was no stranger. The Great Zhao Holy Ground was the #1 sect under the heavens. The Holy Maiden of the Great Zhao Holy Ground. Just the title alone was enough to make everyone reveal a dignified expression. Emperor of Dejun, what are you trying to do? Suddenly, a voice exploded. Shinkuin Kuroha was stunned, because this angry rebuke did not come from the Great Winged Heaven School, but from the commoner in front of him, Huang Bing. When Huang Bing shouted, everyone was puzzled. Over 100 million people didn't have a leader. They were just filled with resentment. In every city, there was a group of people with high prestige. Since the opening of the city, Huang Bing had unknowingly gained a certain level of prestige. At this moment, Huang Bing shouted at Yin Chuan. Many people understood, but many people did not. The Great Winged Heaven School has gone against the tide. 15 years ago, we have already issued a proclamation to the world to avenge Heavenly Father. Yin Chuan shouted. Shinkuin Kuroha's eyes turned cold. Was Dejun really here to fight the Great Winged Heaven School? Shinkuin Kuroha was about to explode in anger when the Huang soldier suddenly stepped in front of him. No way! Huang Bing shouted. Huang Bing's shout immediately stunned many people, including Shinkuin Kuroha. Their eyes were filled with confusion. The Great Winged Heaven School owes us spirit stones. If you destroy it, who are we going to ask for our spirit stones? Huang Bing shouted. Shinkuin Kuroha's face twitched. He didn't know if he was moved or angry. So, they were supporting the Great Winged Heaven School for the sake of their spirit stones. Countless commoners nodded. Yes, if you destroy the Great Winged Heaven School, who are we going to ask for our spirit stones? Most of the people had their concepts changed by Huang Bing's words. Originally, the commoners only thought that Dejun was strong, but they might not be a match for the Great Winged Heaven School. However, after Huang Bing's shout, the commoners suddenly felt that Dejun was a force that could destroy the Great Winged Heaven School. Chapter 691. Billions of Spirit Stones. How could he let the Great Jin dynasty do as they pleased? Yin Chuan looked at Huang Bing with slight admiration, but he still pretended that he didn't know him. Spirit stones? The Great Winged Heaven School owes you spirit stones. Why don't you get them? Yin Chuan asked curiously. Huang Bing was at a loss for words when he heard Yin Chuan's words. The people around them looked at Shinkuin Kuroha again. It was obvious that their anger from being interrupted by Yin Chuan had reignited. Shinkuin Kuroha, return my spirit stones. Someone in the crowd shouted. Shinkuin Kuroha's face turned ugly. He looked at Yin Chuan's army in the distance and said coldly, everyone, listen up. Wipe out the 3 million bandits on the other side. Once you're done, take the spirit stones. True Monarch Black Feather shouted. The people were stunned. Ha ha ha, Shinkuin Kuroha. Who are you trying to fool? Take out the spirit stones, and we'll believe you. Huang Bing shouted. Shinkuin Kuroha's face froze as he looked coldly at Huang Bing. Shinkuin Kuroha, today, you must return the spirit stones that belong to us. Huang Bing shouted, hand them over. Everyone shouted. The voices of the people were the most terrifying. There were more than 100 million people, and their aura caused the air around Shinkuin Kuroha to become turbulent. Shinkuin Kuroha's face turned gloomy. Hua Guang, commander of the Great Jin Dynasty's First Legion, challenges Shinkuin Kuroha. Hua Guang suddenly stepped forward. Shinkuin Kuroha looked at Hua Guang, who was holding a spear. Shinkuin Kuroha's face darkened when he saw Hua Guang. How dare a subject challenge me? Yin Chuan? You've gone too far. Shinkuin Kuroha shouted. My emperor said, Shinkuin Kuroha, if you can defeat me, Dejun will immediately retreat. Hua Guang shouted. Shinkuin Kuroha looked puzzled. After defeating Hua Guang, Dejun retreated? The interior of the Great Winged Heaven School was a mess. Shinkuin Kuroha really didn't want to fight at this moment. Once they fought with the Great Qin dynasty, the internal situation would definitely be exposed. Once exposed, this group of unruly people would destroy the Great Winged Heaven School. Hua Guang's challenge? Shinkuin Kuroha might not be afraid, but These unruly people? Shinko and Kuroha, you want us to help you fight against the Jun's army? That's impossible. If you want to fight, you have to fight on your own or return the spirit stones. Huang Bing shouted, pointing spear at the world. Boom! Huguang did not wait for Shinku and Kuroha's reply. A vast energy spear shot toward him. Boom! The energy spear shot toward Shinku and Kuroha. You're courting death. Shinku and Kuroha slashed with his sword. Boom! The sword and spear collided. The battle between the two of them began without rhyme or reason. The disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School looked at the sky in confusion. At the same time, they looked at the 100 million people warily. Boom! 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 The battle in the sky began. On the dragon platform, Yin Chuan rose to his feet. Everyone! Yin Chuan suddenly shouted. The people turned to look at Yin Chuan. Since the Great Jin Dynasty dares to come here today, we're confident we can destroy the Great Winged Heaven School. I'm sure no one thinks that I, Yin Chuan, will come here to seek my own death, right? Yin Chuan said angrily. Many people nodded. The Great Winged Heaven School owes you spirit stones. Why don't you collect them yourself? I've captured a group of cultivators who escaped from the Great Winged Heaven School. I'm sure everyone knows that they escaped with a large number of spirit stones. Yin Chuan shouted. Every day, a large number of disciples from the Great Winged Heaven School escape with spirit stones. The longer the Great Winged Heaven School drags on, the fewer spirit stones there are. There won't be enough for everyone, Yin Chuan said. Chapter 692. As soon as Yin Chuan said that, the faces of countless people changed. The Great Winged Heaven School is about to be destroyed. I promise in the name of the Great Jin Dynasty that you will follow us to the Great Winged Heaven School. Whatever you get will belong to you. Also, if you kill an Essence State warrior, you will be rewarded with 25 superior grade spirit stones. If you kill an Chi State warrior, you will be rewarded with 300 superior grade spirit stones. If you kill an Immortal State warrior, you will be rewarded with 5,000 superior grade spirit stones. If you kill an Emptiness State warrior, you will be rewarded with 100,000 superior grade spirit stones. Yin Chuan shouted. 100,000? Superior grade spirit stones? For a moment, countless people's eyes were burning with desire. Yin Chuan, you are courting death. Shinku and Kuroha roared in the sky. Shinku and Kuroha couldn't do anything to Huguang, and Huguang couldn't kill him either. Emperor of the Great Jin Dynasty, are you lying? Huang Bing shouted. I can vouch for the Great Jin Dynasty. M.O.U. she suddenly shouted. With M.O.U. she shout, Yin Chuan's words were officially confirmed. Suddenly, countless pairs of eyes turned red and looked at the disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School. A large number of disciples at the entrance of the school suddenly trembled. What are you doing? A disciple shouted. Hiss! Huang Bing suddenly drew his long sword and charged at the disciple. Zhang Xiao, avenge your brother. Everyone, take back what belongs to us. Huang Bing shouted. Along with the Huang soldiers, a large number of commoners also made their move. As soon as the person at the front made a move, the people around him also attacked. Once they attacked, it was as if they had pledged their allegiance. There was no turning back. The people who attacked earlier suddenly turned their heads and shouted, Big brother, attack! Junior brother, attack! Second uncle, hurry up and attack! Rumble! The people began to kill crazily as they advanced toward the Great Winged Heaven School. Spirit stones, everything is for the sake of spirit stones. Shinku and Kuroha roared angrily in the sky. Bastard! Hurry up and get everyone out of seclusion. At this moment, the countless cultivators in the sect were stupefied. Nearly 200 million cultivators were charging over. The commoners were like bandits as they charged in and scattered in all directions. Everywhere they went, they left a mess. All sorts of magical treasures and decorations were plundered by the bandits. Some people even pulled out many of the decorative immortal herbs of the Great Winged Heaven School. Boom! 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 The remaining disciples of the Great Feather Heavenly Sect quickly bombarded one cave after another, bombarding the various secluded caves. Boom! A cave abode was disturbed and opened with a loud bang. Bastard! Which blind thing dares to disturb this old man's seclusion? A white-robed old man rushed out angrily. However, as soon as the white-robed old man finished speaking, the white-robed old man suddenly revealed a look of surprise. In the distance, a black mass of cultivators poured into the great winged heaven school like locusts. Everywhere they passed, not a single blade of grass was left alive. What's going on? Who can tell me what's going on? The white-robed old man exclaimed. Ah, that's spiritual master Shanmeng. 5 years ago, he just reached the lower emptiness realm. Huang Bing suddenly shouted. Lower emptiness realm? 100,000 high-grade spirit stones? Suddenly, a voice echoed in the air. Boom! Boom! A large number of cultivators immediately surrounded them. Bastard! What 100,000 high-grade spirit stones? Do you want to die? How dare you break into my great winged heaven school? The white-robed old man roared angrily. Kill! Kill! Hundreds of cultivators did not care at all. Directly charged forward. Kill! In all directions, the experts of the great winged heaven school came out of seclusion one after another. However, in the eyes of the common people, mountains of spirit stones appeared one after another. Rah! The common people who had accumulated resentment for a long time seemed to have gone crazy at this moment. They swarmed into the great winged heaven school like a swarm of bees. At the peak of a mountain in the distance, at this moment, 5 Middle Emptiness Realm experts who were invited by Yin Chuan looked at each other, their eyes filled with confusion. What? The common people of the Great Winged Heaven School have all gone crazy? How can this be? Do these common people really want to die? Everyone is like a bandit? The 5 people were stunned. Chapter 693. The Great Winged Heaven School. More and more people could not remain calm when they saw that some people had already privately owned a large number of Dharma treasures. More and more experts rushed to the Great Winged Heaven School. Once they entered the Great Winged Heaven School, it meant that they were completely on the side of the Great Jin Dynasty. A group of immortal state commoners targeted the lower void stage cultivators because the cave abodes of every lower void stage cultivator had the most Dharma treasures, spirit pills, and secret manuals. At the same time, the head of a lower void stage cultivator was worth 100,000 superior grade spirit stones, which was 1 billion inferior grade spirit stones. A lower void stage cultivator was strong, but what about 100 immortal state cultivators? There were too many commoners. If the Great Winged Heaven School was at its peak, it would definitely be able to defeat them. However, most of the experts were in seclusion now, and only 1/3 of them were in seclusion. How could they deal with these ferocious commoners? Are they crazy? How is that possible? Is this the end of the world? How dare these commoners? How dare they? Bastard! How dare they? The cultivators of the Great Feather Heavenly Sect were shouting anxiously all around. A large number of commoners gathered outside a cave. Come, there's a cave abode that hasn't come out yet. Let's set up an array and kill him. Someone shouted. Okay. Those Shouja who had not come out of seclusion were killed by a group of common people in their muddle-headedness. On the dragon platform, Yin Chuan looked at the great winged heaven school in the distance and the rolling merit clouds in the sky. Endless merit was surging at that moment. Nearly 200 million commoners rushed to the great winged heaven school, and the endless merit was surging desperately. The virtuous clouds were slowly dispersing and dispersing, gradually decreasing in number. At the same time in Yin Jin, the Great Jin Dynasty. Roar! The golden dragon of providence roared at the sky. As it roared, the sea of providence suddenly churned. Below Yin Jin, Bai Ditian looked at the providence clouds in the sky. Who? Out of nowhere, beams of golden light gathered towards the sea of providence from all directions. The sea of providence grew bigger and bigger, and more providence appeared. Supreme Being, Dejun's providence is skyrocketing. a tiger demon exclaimed. Bai Detian stared at the golden dragon of Providence. As the Providence continued to gather, the golden dragon of Providence became more and more corporeal and thick. The golden dragon of Dejun's Providence is becoming stronger? Bai Detian's eyes lit up. Outside the great winged heaven school. Bastard, bastard! Shinkuin Kuroha roared at the sky. On the other side, Huoguang seemed to become more and more courageous as the battle progressed. Enveloped by the will of the Alcade Star, Huoguang's strength skyrocketed. On the other hand, Shinkuin Kuroha had just broken through to the lower emptiness realm 20 years ago. It was hard to tell who was stronger. Great Winged Heaven School, Golden Crow Dharma Body. Shinkuin Kuroha roared with indignation. Wah! Above the sea of clouds of merit, the sound of a crow suddenly shook the sky. Dejun had the golden dragon of Providence, and the great winged heaven school had the golden crow. The giant golden crow formed by the virtuous virtue suddenly flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Wah! The golden crow roared and charged towards Shinkuin Kuroha. Boom! The golden crow and Tao Lord Black Feather suddenly merged into one. The golden crow's eyes suddenly became lively, as if it had come alive in an instant. Rumble! A vast pressure rushed towards Huoguang. The huge aura forced Huoguang back more than 1,000 feet. Strong winds blew around. Shinkuin Kuroha, who had merged with the golden crow, glared at Huoguang as if he wanted to tear Huoguang apart. Chapter 694. Whoosh! Huoguang stepped back and shot toward the 3 million soldiers of the Great Jin army. At this moment, the 3 million-strong army had already begun to move, quickly forming a new formation. Qinglong, White Tiger, Rosefinch, Xuanwu, Rumble. The 3 million soldiers led by Qinglong and the other 3 formed the 4 symbols formation. Suddenly, the surroundings were filled with fog. Huoguang rushed straight in. Trying to escape? The golden crow roared angrily, spread its wings, and pounced into the formation. Rumble! The formation suddenly churned nonstop. The interior rumbled nonstop. The golden crow was trapped. It was Shinkuin Kuroha's first time mobilizing the golden crow, so he was not very familiar with it. Even so, he was invincible in the formation. Ah! Big brother! Screams came from the formation. Clearly, the Great Jin army did not have the upper hand in the formation. Should I help them? She asked worriedly. No need. Yin Chuan shook his head. He looked at the virtuous cloud sea. At this moment, without the golden crow's wings, the virtuous cloud sea's endless virtuous virtue was quickly draining away. Kill. Mine. Haha, that's a 7th grade artifact. The Great Winged Heaven School. Shouts of killing could be heard from all directions. Flames rose everywhere, and smoke rose into the sky. At this moment, the Great Winged Heaven School was completely defeated. Help! Bastard! A large number of Great Winged Heaven School disciples cried out in grief. Boom! At this moment, a mountain peak of the Great Winged Heaven School suddenly exploded. A ray of white light shot into the sky. A white-haired man dressed in white rushed out with a look of surprise in his eyes. Another one. Kill. Excited roars came from all directions. Don't. That's true monarch White Feather. Someone suddenly cried out in alarm. Humph. The white-haired man snorted coldly. Suddenly, a powerful aura pressed down. Poof. 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 The charging experts all spat out mouthfuls of blood as they stared at true monarch White Feather in shock. True Lord White Feather did not immediately save anyone. Instead, he looked around at the virtuous cloud sea in the sky and the trapped golden crow in the distance. True monarch White Feather narrowed his eyes. Impudent! Why aren't you stopping? True monarch White Feather shouted. Honk! The furious roar sounded like thunder from the 9 heavens descending from the sky, causing the expressions of countless cultivators to change. The huge commotion caused the souls of countless cultivators to tremble. The battle suddenly stopped. The might of his voice was so powerful. Old Sect Master, Old Sect Master. A large number of disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School looked towards true monarch White Feather with wild joy. Countless commoners were shocked. Too powerful. Is this the power of the Middle Void stage? Suppressing nearly 200 million cultivators with a single roar? Countless commoners were panicking. Previously, when Shinkuin Kuroha was trapped, they thought that the Great Winged Heaven School was done for. But true monarch White Feather was still there? Why was he still there? True monarch White Feather's strength was deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people. It was an irresistible force. Countless people suddenly felt regret. They should not have barged into the Great Winged Heaven School. They were all from the Great Jin dynasty. Almost everyone looked in the direction of Yin Chuan. It was all caused by Yin Chuan. Many people revealed worried and fearful expressions. Yin Chuan looked around, then looked at true monarch White Feather. Using his dermic powers, he shouted again, "My previous words still stand. I will personally deal with this true monarch White Feather." Chapter 695. Yin Chuan's words immediately calmed the hearts of the people. However, the people were still uneasy. Perfected Lord White Feather looked at Yin Chuan in the distance and narrowed his eyes. Old Sect Master, it's all Shinkuin Kuroha's fault for causing our Great Winged Heaven School to fall into its current state. Old Sect Master, it's great that you're still here. The Great Winged Heaven School disciples found their backbone and were all excited. Who started this chaos? Perfected Lord White Feather's eyes turned cold. Him, Yin Chuan. Everyone quickly pointed out. Perfected Lord White Feather narrowed his eyes and stared at Yin Chuan in the distance. His eyes were extremely cold. In the distance, on a mountain peak, the 5 Middle Void realm experts that Yin Chuan invited looked at each other. Oh, Perfected Lord White Feather? Does anyone want to make a move? A red-robed expert smiled. No need. Yin Chuan only invited us to deal with Perfected Lord Great Feather. What does Perfected Lord White Feather have to do with us? Moreover, this Yin Chuan is always unpredictable. What else does he have to rely on? Another person said, yes. Everyone nodded and ignored him. Yin Chuan, Perfected Lord White Feather shouted coldly, clearly having never heard of this name. Shinkuin Kuroha, what a bastard. A deity realm expert can also mess up the Great Winged Heaven School like this? After being someone else's dog, you're worse than a dog? Perfected Lord White Feather looked at the trapped golden crow in the distance and said coldly. In the distance, Yin Chuan's body suddenly shone with a red light, and his hair quickly turned blood red. It grew rapidly, and a monstrous evil intent surged out. Rubble! The ground under Yin Chuan's feet suddenly sank, turning into a torrential sea of blood. Yin Chuan's hair was long, and his eyes were bloodshot. The corners of his mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Waves of blood soared into the sky, surrounding Yin Chuan. In an instant, blood chi soared to the 9 heavens. Yin Chuan seemed to have transformed into a blood sea berserk demon, filled with raging devilish intent. Blood demon? The expressions of the people who had stopped talking suddenly changed. Someone recognized him. Around Yin Chuan, energy surged wildly as a surge of battle intent shot towards the distant true Lord White Feather. Oh! True monarch White Feather's eyes narrowed. At this moment, Yin Chuan's strength skyrocketed. Blood sea, White Feather die, Yin Chuan shouted. He stepped on the waves of blood and soared into the sky. A sea of blood that covered an area of 50 kilometers surged towards the distant true monarch White Feather. Wherever the sea of blood passed, the vegetation would wither. Yin Chuan wielded the Jade Emperor sword and charged towards true monarch White Feather. You're courting death. Perfected Lord White Feather's eyes turned cold as she flew over on the wind. She extended her hand and suddenly, a huge palm print pressed down. The moment the Jade Emperor sword appeared, it suddenly emitted a black light. Boom! The palm print was suddenly shattered by the Jade Emperor sword. Jade Emperor sword formation. Rumble! Surging sword chi suddenly erupted like a huge hurricane. Endless sword chi surged out and enveloped Yin Chuan, Blood Sea, and true monarch White Feather. When the people saw this scene, they immediately calmed down. Boom! Boom! Within the Blood Sea Jade Emperor sword formation, white light shone everywhere. Waves of impact seemed to want to shatter the sea of blood again and again. True monarch White Feather, who was inside, was unusually fierce. Suddenly, a beam of light shot down from the sky. The beam of light shot straight towards the Jade Emperor sword formation. Suddenly, the Jade Emperor sword formation stabilized, and the huge sword formation immediately became firm. Star intent? You're just a deity. How can you have a star intent? True monarch White Feather exclaimed from within the formation. Roar! There were even dragon roars coming from within the Blood Sea Jade Emperor sword formation. On a mountain peak in the distance, 5 Middle Void Realm experts narrowed their eyes. It seems that we've underestimated Yin Chuan, the red-robed expert said in a deep voice. Star intent? This old man has also just found his natal star. Yin Chuan and that Hua Guang actually both have them? Another person exclaimed in surprise. Old Hong, their natal stars might not be suitable for them. There's no need to be envious. Everyone sighed. On the mountain of the Great Winged Heaven School, the leader of the group, Huang Bing, suddenly shouted, True monarch White Feather is under Yin Chuan's control. The Great Winged Heaven School is about to be destroyed. We've already offended the Great Winged Heaven School, and there's no way we can go back on our words. It's useless to regret it. Let's just destroy the Great Winged Heaven School and help Dejin destroy the Great Winged Heaven School as soon as possible. Those disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School who were hiding have all come out. The 100,000 superior-grade spirit stones are mine. After a short period of calmness, the situation became chaotic again. Chapter 696. The Great Winged Heaven School was destroyed. Rumble. After losing the Golden Crow Spear, the virtuous clouds of the Great Winged Heaven School started to disperse. Similarly, the Golden Crow was condensed from the virtuous clouds. As the virtuous clouds weakened, the Golden Crow's power also started to weaken. It was like a vicious cycle. If Shinkuin Kuroa couldn't win in a short time, things would only get worse. One disciple after another was killed. The Great Winged Heaven School was about to be completely destroyed. She looked worriedly at the sea of blood enveloped by the Jade Emperor's sword formation. On the other side, the civilians were getting crazier and crazier. Many cultivators hung human heads on their waists. They were all spirit stones. Slaughter was everywhere. The disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School were forced to retreat. At this moment, there was no such thing as retreat. They just kept running. Help! No! Why is it like this? Screams could be heard everywhere. The civilians were also injured or killed. However, this didn't frighten them. It only made them more ferocious and merciless. It seemed that the Du Heavenly Sect was going to be completely destroyed in this muddle-headed situation. Just as the virtuous clouds were about to decrease by more than half, boom! At the main peak of the Great Winged Heaven School, Big Feather Peak, suddenly, a terrifying aura soared into the sky. Creak! A cave suddenly opened, and a golden-robed figure walked out from within. The aura emitted by the golden-robed figure was even stronger than true monarch White Feathers. The golden-robed figure slowly stepped out of the cave, and a powerful aura spread in all directions. Who is it? Some of the surrounding cultivators asked in horror. This was because they felt a great destructive power under this aura. It was as if this aura alone could crush everyone. Elder? Our Great Winged Heaven School has an elder? Immediately, a disciple of the Great Winged Heaven School said excitedly. So strong, so terrifying. The golden-robed expert exuded a horrifying aura as he stood at the top of Great Feather Peak, overlooking the surroundings. His oppressive aura caused the souls of nearly 200 million cultivators to tremble in fear. Who is he? Why is he so strong? How is this possible? The surrounding commoners stopped in horror, because the aura of the golden-robed man was too terrifying. The eyes of a lower void stage expert of the Great Winged Heaven School, who was covered in blood, suddenly lit up. I remember now. I have a painting of him in my sect master's hall. Ancestor. It's the ancestor. Great feather true monarch. The emptiness realm expert roared. True lord, great feather. His voice wasn't loud, but it seemed to enter everyone's ears in an instant. Who was the great feather lord? There was no need for him to explain. The founder of the Great Winged Heaven School and the #1 person in the history of the Great Winged Heaven School. This title was like a sledgehammer that hammered into everyone's hearts. How is this possible? True lord to you. Why? How can the Great Winged Heaven School be so strong? The commoners panicked again. At this moment, they couldn't even think of resisting. True lord to you? The golden-robed man was true lord to you? Almost everyone felt a strong rumble in their heads. Becoming enemies with true lord to you? What was the difference between that and seeking death? Ancestor, ancestor, ancestor. That's great. Ancestor. The disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School rushed over in ecstasy while crying. Chapter 697. True Lord Whitefeather had a high status in everyone's hearts, but no matter how high it was not as high as True Lord Du. The entire Great Winged Heaven School was founded by him. How strong was he? True Lord Du did not appear when Mo-ku arrived last time, so the disciples did not know of his existence. Now that he appeared, it could be said that everyone was stunned. They were saved. No, not only were they saved, but all those who disobeyed the Great Winged Heaven School would be executed. All the disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School revealed looks of hatred. The golden-robed True Lord Du's eyes emitted a ray of golden light. The golden light was so dazzling that the surrounding cultivators could not open their eyes. Who destroyed my ocean of merits? True Lord Du glared and asked. He looked straight at a cultivator. That person was inexplicably shocked. Boom! That cultivator suddenly exploded, and it was incomparably bloody. Countless people who were attacking the Great Winged Heaven School immediately panicked. True Lord Du turned his gaze and suddenly looked at Yin Chuan's battlefield in the distance, then looked at Mo-yu, she who was next to him. Phoenix? True Lord Du raised his eyebrows. Ha! True Lord Du, your bearing is indeed extraordinary. Suddenly, a burst of laughter came from the void. The laughter suddenly formed a wave of impact that suddenly messed up True Lord Du's aura. Boom! 5 figures appeared around True Sovereign Du. The 5 Middle Emptiness Realm experts suddenly surrounded True Sovereign Du. Middle Void Realm? Who are you? True Lord Du said coldly. World Margin Sect, Hong Yin. World Vast Sect, Han Jaimai. The 5 Middle Void Realm experts spoke at the same time. When the 5 of them reported their names, the expressions of the surrounding people changed. The 5 of them were not like True Lord Du. Generally speaking, Middle Void Realm experts were known as the pillars of their respective sects. But True Lord Du had strangely hidden and did not come out, giving people the feeling that he had died long ago. These 5 people were famous throughout the world. They were the strongest people in the world, and were grandmasters of middle-level sections. The Great Winged Heaven School was the weakest middle-level sect in the East Divine Continent, but these 5 people came from 5 other middle-level sections. Maofei? Were they brought here by Yin Chuan? I've never heard of you. What do you want? True Lord Du's eyes were filled with anger. It's nothing. I just want True Lord Du to stay out of this battle. Hong Yin said. As soon as Hong Yin spoke, the surrounding disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School were terrified. Patriarch, don't listen to him. They're here to destroy our Great Winged Heaven School. Patriarch, save us. A group of Great Winged Heaven School disciples said anxiously. True Lord Du looked at this group of people indifferently, as if his heart was very calm. In fact, in the eyes of True Lord Du, he didn't seem to have much affection for the Great Winged Heaven School that he had founded. I don't cause trouble, but you came to provoke me? You're courting death. True Lord Diyu's eyes suddenly narrowed. Courting death? True Lord Diyu, you and I are both in the middle void realm, and we don't want to make things difficult for you. It doesn't matter who you find trouble with in half a month, but for half a month, stand still. Hong Yin shouted. Humph. True Lord Diyu glared. Boom! True Lord Diyu stretched out his hand and hit Hong Yin with a palm. A golden palm suddenly slammed towards Hong Yin. Hong Yin immediately raised his sword and slashed. Boom! The palm and sword collided, and Hong Yin was immediately sent flying with a trace of surprise in his eyes. Chapter 698. Whoosh! True Lord Diyu chased after Hong Yin. He attacked Hong Yin again. The battle between the two of them instantly caused the other 4 Middle Void Stage experts to join in as well. The purpose of the 5 Middle Void State cultivators was to trap perfected Lord Diyu for half a month and lure him to Yanjin. Boom! True Lord Diyu didn't seem to care about the lives of the Great Winged Heaven School's disciples. He just followed after them. As soon as True Lord Diyu left, the disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School shuddered. Kill! Yin Chuan found 5 peerless experts. True Lord Diyu will definitely die. Kill! Huang Bing shouted in the crowd again. At that moment, everyone knew that if the Great Winged Heaven School didn't die, they would die. They had to die. They had to die. If it was for the Spirit Stones in the beginning, it was now to get rid of them. Kill! 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 It was a fierce battle. True Lord Diyu didn't seem to care about the lives of the Great Winged Heaven School's disciples at all. He fought with the 5 experts. Of course, the 5 experts didn't let True Lord Diyu interfere in the battle at all. Kill! 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 Everyone was killing crazily. After an entire day, boom! The Blood Sea Jade Emperor's sword array that Yin Chuan was in collapsed. True Lord White Feather's head flew out, and the Blood Sea disappeared. Yin Chuan's hair recovered, but his body was full of injuries. He fell to the ground. Yin Chuan's injuries were very serious, and he was weak. However, True Lord White Feather was killed in the end. Yin Chuan, how are you? MOU. She held Yin Chuan worriedly. I'm fine. I'm just a little injured. Now, take me back to Yanjin. Yin Chuan said. Okay. MOU. She nodded. She carried Yin Chuan into the sky and flew across the battlefield in the blink of an eye. MOU. She suddenly let out a long cry. With a sway of his body, he transformed into a 200 feet long black phoenix. Dark Phoenix. With Yin Chuan on her back, Dark Phoenix flapped her wings and turned into a ray of light that quickly disappeared over the horizon. Then, he shot toward Yanjing. As the merit of the Great Winged Heaven School dissipated, Shinkuin Kuroha, who was trapped by the 4 symbols formation, finally couldn't hold on any longer. No! There was a loud wail. The 4 symbols grand formation broke apart with a loud bang. Golden light shot out in all directions as boundless merits exploded. Inside, of the 3 million soldiers, only 8 million were still alive, and most of them were heavily injured. Huaguang's spear pierced through Shinkuin Kuroha's chest. Along with it, a roll of Tiansu also broke. Boom! All the merit of the Great Winged Heaven School dissipated. Today, the Great Winged Heaven School was destroyed. The people saw the merit clouds in the sky completely explode, and they gradually stopped what they were doing. The disciples of the Great Winged Heaven School were also killed. Looking at the desolate Great Winged Heaven School, no one could laugh at that moment. At this moment, almost everyone felt a sense of emptiness. No one believed that this was caused by them. Everyone gradually calmed down. After calming down, they realized that everyone seemed to have lost something. They turned their heads and looked at the army of the Great Jun dynasty in the distance. True Lord White Feather's corpse and Shinkuin Kuroha's corpse. How ironic it all seemed. More than half of the army of the Great Jun dynasty had been killed or injured. However, another army of the Great Jun dynasty walked out of the forest in the distance. Led by Yi Feng, another 1,000,000 soldiers slowly stepped into the messy battlefield. Lord Hua, thank you for your hard work, Yi Feng said solemnly. Hua Guang's body was full of injuries as he said solemnly, "I'll have to trouble you to clean up the mess. Lord Hua, take the First Legion to rest." "I'll take care of everything," Yifeng said. Chapter 699. Great Jin Dynasty, Yin Capital. Roar! The cry of a phoenix could be heard. A commotion broke out in the Skyward Palace Square. A large number of guards rushed into the Skyward Palace Square. They thought that an enemy had invaded. When they saw Yin Chuan and Mou, she descending from the sky in the center of the square, all the guards bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Your Majesty." All the guards said respectfully. "You may leave," Yin Chuan said lightly. "Yes." The soldiers quickly retreated. "We're finally back." "Mou," she said tiredly. "It's been hard on you these past few days," Yin Chuan said emotionally. Looking at Yin Chuan, Mou Yushi's tiredness disappeared, and she smiled happily. "Your Majesty." Lu Jin walked over quickly. "Meow." "Yin Chuan, why are you covered in blood?" Meow also ran over quickly. Yin Chuan did not answer. Instead, he looked up at the sky. In the sky, the Great Jin Dynasty's providence had increased by more than 10 times. The surging providence was churning nonstop. The golden dragon of providence, which was originally 10,000 feet long, had now grown to 20,000 feet long. Moreover, it seemed more solid and strong. 10 times the providence was surging. It was a spectacular sight. Yin Chuan smiled with satisfaction. Great Jin had finally grown stronger. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Yin Chuan returned early. He washed up, changed into a clean set of clothes, and sat in front of the Skyward Palace Square. The dragon throne was placed in the Skyward Palace Square. Behind it stood the civil and military officials. Yin Chuan was flipping through some information on a table in front of him. Mou, she stood at the side with Meow in her arms. "The Great Winged Heaven School has already been destroyed. Why are you still looking at the history of the Great Winged Heaven School?" Mou, she asked curiously. "There's something strange." Yin Chuan shook his head. "Oh, Lord Great Winged Heaven, why have you been hiding ever since you founded the Great Winged Heaven School? Even if the Great Winged Heaven School was controlled by Mo-Ku, True Lord Dayu was still indifferent? This isn't right." Yin Chuan frowned. Mou, she nodded. That's right. Back then, when Heavenly Son Mo-Ku stirred up chaos in the Great Winged Heaven School and forced True Monarch White Feather to abdicate and support Shinkuin Kuroha, True Monarch Great Winged didn't show up at all. His own sect was robbed by someone else, and he didn't do anything about it? Very strange. Secondly, this True Lord Dayu seems to be too antisocial, Yin Chuan said with a frown. "Oh? There aren't many historical records of True Lord Dayu. In a heavenly bestowment conference, he won the Tiansu and established a lesser sect. Then, in a short 3 years, he destroyed 100 lesser sections. He didn't kill them all, but subdued them and expanded the Great Winged Heaven School. Then, with the fastest speed possible, he promoted it to a middle sect," Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Not many years after becoming a middle sect, True Lord Dayu abdicated and disappeared. In other words, he went into seclusion. Yin Chuan continued, "Yes, it's very strange. All the major sects in the world have Middle Void Realm experts overseeing a region. Yet, there's no news of him at all." Mou, she said strangely. "You saw True Lord Dayu that day. At that time, True Lord Dayu said that he didn't recognize the 5 Middle Void Realm experts I found. Why? It means that he doesn't care about the world at all?" Yin Chuan said, "Yes. Most importantly, when he came out of seclusion that day, what was the first thing he said?" Yin Chuan asked. "He said, 'Who destroyed my merit?'" Mou, she narrowed her eyes as she recalled the past. When he came out of seclusion, what he cared about the most wasn't the life and death of a sect, but the merit of the sky. Chapter 701. Rumble. The entire Yinjin seemed to be trembling. The 5 Middle Void State cultivators who had left earlier returned and landed on a mountain peak in the distance. The golden dragon of providence? It's on par with perfected feather? A middle void state cultivator said with a complicated expression. Perfected feather's strength is far beyond our expectations. If we were to fight him one-on-one, we wouldn't be able to defeat him. The golden dragon of providence? It seems to be a lot thicker than the last time, but it's still a little weaker. The five of them frowned as they watched. A dragon and a crow were fighting in the sun. You're not strong enough. I'll tear you apart. Wah! The three-legged golden crow roared. You're right. Unfortunately, you've forgotten that this is Yin Jin, my home ground. The golden dragon of providence roared. Roar! The golden dragon of providence roared. Roar! 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 Countless dragon roars were heard from all around Yin Jin. The dragon veins all let out dragon roars, as if they were responding to the golden dragon of providence. The power of the dragon veins shot into the sky and went straight for the sun in the sky. Rumble! The golden dragon of Dejin's providence's strength skyrocketed once again. The golden dragon of providence's body expanded again. Roar! Boom! The original golden dragon of providence's power skyrocketed, and the power of the dragon and the crow reached a balance in the blink of an eye. In fact, the power of the golden dragon of providence was slightly stronger. The golden crow's claw against the dragon's claw. Boom! The golden crow's wing against the dragon's tail. Boom! The battle was getting more and more intense. The three-legged golden crow said awkwardly, Dynasty? Someone in this world can use the power of a dynasty to such an extent? I've said that this is my home ground. Let's see how I'll deal with you. The golden dragon said confidently. Arrogant. Who can deal with me? No one can do anything to me. The three-legged golden crow said arrogantly. Great heavenly seal, the golden dragon said coldly. Boom! A huge black seal suddenly appeared on the dragon's claw. The bottom and top of the black seal were golden. The seal grew larger and larger, as if a mountain was pressing down. The three-legged golden crow looked up and saw 8 golden words in the darkness, as if the sky had collapsed. Receiving the mandate of heaven, long live and prosperous. Wah! The golden crow roared angrily at the seal in the sky. Then, an intense golden light shot towards the great heavenly seal like a golden river. Boom! The golden light shattered on its own, as if it couldn't shake the great heavenly seal at all. How is that possible? Your imperial seal shouldn't be so powerful. It shouldn't be. The three-legged golden crow cried out in shock. Honk! A loud boom rang out as the great heavenly stabilizing seal slammed into the three-legged gold crow. It ruthlessly suppressed the three-legged golden crow. No, bastard. If it weren't for the fact that I'm injured, you wouldn't have been able to. The golden dragon of providence slowly descended from the sky and landed on the Sea of Providence. Bam! The Sea of Providence churned as the golden dragon of providence stepped on the great heavenly seal. The great heavenly seal pierced the three-legged golden crow below. What kind of treasure is that? It actually pierced true Lord Diyu? A middle void realm cultivator on a distant mountain said in shock. The 5 middle void realm cultivators' expressions immediately changed. The 5 of them understood that they were no match for true Lord Diyu if they were alone. However, the powerful true Lord Diyu had actually been pierced by Yin Chuan. Thinking of this, everyone's belittling of Yin Chuan instantly vanished. They looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Did we do something wrong? Chapter 702. Half a year later, the opening of the city lord's mansion. Yifeng looked at the 3 men in front of him. All of you are at the deity realm. In the future, the first city will belong to the great Jin dynasty. If there are any matters in the city, I'll have to trouble all of you to help. Yifeng smiled. Lord Yi, you're too courteous. I believe that under the management of the Grand Jin dynasty, the premier city will definitely prosper. A man said with a smile. That's right, Lord Yi. Those commoners have already exchanged their spirit stones. What about us? Another man asked worriedly. That's right. Although that emptiness realm expert went berserk when he was in seclusion and we took advantage of him, but The three of them were slightly worried. Yifeng waved his hand. Immediately, more than a dozen soldiers carried 3 huge chests over. Yifeng smiled and said, "Since His Majesty has spoken, he will definitely keep his word. It's up to you to decide how to distribute these 100,000 upper spiritual stones." The three of them immediately walked up and looked at the boxes of high-grade spirit stones. Their breathing quickened. "Thank you, Lordy." The three of them were so excited that all the pores on their bodies opened up. Finally, it was his turn. "Everyone is wrong. This has nothing to do with me. If you want to thank someone, thank my emperor," Yifeng said with a smile. The three of them nodded and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." "No, the three of you. Don't be mistaken. Great Jun. All of you are also citizens of Great Jun." Yifeng laughed. "Ah? Yes. The three of them looked at the spirit stones. Naturally, everything was negotiable. "My emperor killed true monarch White Feather and even raped true monarch Great Feather in Yinjing. The three of you know about this, right?" Yifeng smiled. "I've heard a little about it." The three nodded solemnly. The Jun strength was now deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. The Great Jin Dynasty is a place where all kinds of talents are welcome. If the three of you are interested, you can take part in the imperial examinations of the Great Jin Dynasty, regardless of whether it's the literary examination, the martial examination, or the miscellaneous examination. They can all become officials of the Great Jin Empire, said Yifeng. "Well, think about it," the three of them said immediately. "No problem." Yifeng nodded. Skyward Hall. The 5 middle void stage experts looked at Yin Chuan with a slightly complicated expression. Beside Yin Chuan stood Mo Yushi, Huaguang, Lu Gang, and Qinglong. On a jade platform in front of him, there were 5 brocade boxes. Primeval Chaos Bell, Heart-Shocking Sword, Heartless Pagoda, Limitless Mirror, and Deep Serene Ring. 5 quasi-immortal artifacts. You can distribute them as you wish, Yin Chuan said with a smile. The 5 of them frowned as they looked at Yin Chuan. After each of them picked one, the 5 of them had slightly complicated expressions. "Thank you, everyone," Yin Chuan said with a smile. The 5 of them nodded and said with complicated expressions, "Farewell." Yin Chuan smiled. The 5 of them didn't say anything and just walked out of the hall. He disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Your Majesty, these 5 quasi-immortal artifacts are given to them, just like that?" Lu Gang said with a look of unwillingness. Lu Gang's horizons had been broadened. Although many magic treasures were nothing in his eyes, these were quasi-immortal artifacts. In a middle sect, they were the most precious treasures. They had obtained them with great difficulty, but they were given away just like that. Lu Gang felt his heart ache. The Great Jin Dynasty is still the Great Jin Dynasty after all. If we keep these 5 treasures, too many people will be jealous. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, "But they're just safekeeping them. One day, these 5 treasures will belong to the Great Jin Dynasty again," Yin Chuan said with certainty. "Yes." Lu Gang took a deep breath and said, Chapter 703. Your Great Jin Dynasty's providence is about to catch up with Jilu Academy. Can it be promoted to Imperial Dynasty China yet? MOU, she asked curiously. Not yet. Yin Chuan shook his head. Does that mean we can just conquer another middle-rank sect? Lu Gang asked curiously. Imperial Dynasty China, Imperial Dynasty China, and Celestial Dynasty. Lu Gang now knew these names. Naturally, he knew that Imperial Dynasty China was the corresponding middle-tier sect. Was Great Jin still lacking? Yin Chuan shook his head. This time, the destruction of the Great Winged Heaven School has already made the surrounding sects sensitive. We should focus on recuperating. Consolidate Great Jin's power first. Yes. Lu Gang nodded. Huaguang. After the destruction of the Great Winged Heaven School, there are many mortal kingdoms in their territory. You will be in charge of flattening these kingdoms and unifying Great Jin, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Huaguang acknowledged. After arranging everyone, Yin Chuan and MOU, she slowly walked out of the Skyward Hall. The two of them walked quietly. I'm leaving soon. Mo Yushi looked a little disappointed. Yin Chuan gently grabbed Mo Yushi's hand. The two of them looked at each other. Mo Yushi's eyes flashed with affection. Yin Chuan's eyes also flashed with tenderness. Gently, Yin Chuan hugged Mo Yushi. Mo Yushi's body trembled. Yin Chuan hugged her tightly. After a while, Mo Yushi's body finally calmed down. She enjoyed this moment of tranquility even more. I won't stop you from inheriting your father's things. But be careful, Yin Chuan said solemnly. Mo Yushi replied softly. I have already told Bai Ditian to send 4 Tiger Tribe Great Demons to follow you. Together with Qing Long and the others, there are 8 Emptiness Realm experts. They will ensure your safety, Yin Chuan said softly. Mo Yushi's heart was filled with sweetness. From start to finish, Yin Chuan did not thank Mo Yushi for her help during this period of time, because there was no need to. The two hugged for a while before letting go of each other and smiling at each other. Hand in hand, they stood together at a railing and watched the sunset. Meow, when are you leaving? Meow immediately jumped over. When Meow jumped over, Mo Yushi panicked slightly and loosened her grip. Boom! Meow jumped onto Mo Yushi's shoulder. When are we leaving? When are we leaving? Meow shouted. Meow, are you really going? Yin Chuan laughed. Of course, Sister Mo's father has immortal stones. Meow, immortal stones. Even supreme-grade spirit stones cannot compare. Sister Mo is going back to inherit her father's inheritance. Meow, meow. Meow started to fantasize. Looking at Meow, Yin Chuan laughed bitterly. Don't spoil it too much. I am willing, Mo Yushi said mischievously. Meow, Sister Mo gave me immortal stones, not you. Meow. Meow looked angrily at Yin Chuan. All right, go. Don't cause trouble for Yushi. Also, you and I have a clan contract. If you are in a hurry, you can teleport to me. Be careful, Yin Chuan said. Mo Yushi nodded. Qing Long. Yin Chuan shouted into the distance. Soon, Qing Long, Bai Long, and the others ran over. There were also 4 very capable women. Protect Yushi, Yin Chuan said to everyone. Yes, everyone answered. She looked at Yin Chuan reluctantly, turned around, and flew into the sky. The 8 people followed closely behind. She did not turn back. She was afraid that if she did, she would cry. Meow, meow, meow. Meow was very excited. The excited shout slowly eased the sadness of Mo Yushi's parting. After sending Mo Yushi off, Yin Chuan sighed softly. At some point, Bai Ditian appeared beside Yin Chuan. I have already chosen the Tiger Tribe's base. It will be west of Yinjing, Bai Ditian said. Yin Chuan looked at Bai Ditian and nodded. Bai Ditian's words confirmed one thing. From now on, the Tiger Tribe was willing to advance and retreat together with the Great Jin Dynasty. What are your plans now? Bai Ditian asked curiously. Rest and recuperate. I will change the sect-oriented mindset of the people in the Great Jin Dominion to that of the country. First, I will strengthen the country. Then, I will work slowly. Yin Chuan said. Bai Ditian nodded. What do you plan to do with Perfected Lord Diyu? Bai Ditian asked curiously. What do you think? Yin Chuan smiled. I feel that you want to subdue him, but this person is very stubborn. It seems very difficult. Bai Ditian said. I don't like weaklings. Yin Chuan smiled. Bai Ditian immediately understood what Yin Chuan meant. Let's do it for a while first. We'll talk about it later, Yin Chuan said after taking a deep breath. Okay. Bai Ditian nodded. The Great Jin Dynasty had destroyed the Great Winged Heaven School. The news seemed to have grown wings as it quickly spread in all directions. Dynasty? It was already strange enough that a dynasty had appeared in the East Divine Continent. At this moment, the dynasty that no one thought highly of had actually destroyed the Great Winged Heaven School in such a short time. Perfected Lord Diyu had even been kidnapped in Yinjing. Countless cultivators were stunned when they heard the news. It was as if they couldn't believe it. Wasn't this too exaggerated? News of this event was written on the desks of the sect masters of the various major sections. However, the news seemed so simple. Many details were unknown. Therefore, a large number of cultivators were sent to the territory of the Great Jin dynasty to search for information. Gradually, the news of the Zhidong Bank and the #1 school in the world were exposed. Although Great Jin didn't admit it, many people suspected that it was planned by the Great Jin dynasty. Otherwise, how could there be so many coincidences? The news continued to spread. The scam of the Zhidong Bank also quickly spread everywhere. Countless people with brains learned from this scam and started to do it again. However, the destruction of the Great Winged Heaven School alerted everyone. Wherever the Zhidong Bank appeared, it would be destroyed by the various sects. After all, it was something that could shake the foundation of everyone. Everyone felt a sense of fear. Great Jin had destroyed the Great Winged Heaven School. They also occupied a position in the East Divine Land. In particular, perfected Lord Diyu was still in Yanjing, so the surrounding sects didn't dare to act rashly. Great Jin was still developing in an orderly manner. Yanjing. In the upper study, a map was spread out in front of Yin Chuan. It was one of the 3 things that Yin Tao had left for Yin Chuan. It was a map. A giant mine? A giant mine that can let the Yin clan eat for 10,000 years? I'm already an immortal state warrior. I can go and get it. What exactly is it? Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with anticipation. After all these years, Yin Chuan had a certain understanding of his father, whom he had never met before. He was also an extremely generous person. If it could make his father be careful, it must be an extraordinary giant mine. While Yin Chuan was thinking, Lu Jin's voice suddenly came from outside the study. Your Majesty, perfected Lord Diyu, is about to die. Lu Jin's voice had a hint of anxiety. Chapter 704. Your Majesty, perfected Lord Diyu, is going to die, Lu Jin said anxiously. Lu Jin did not enter the study, and neither did Yin Chuan. Shifting his gaze away from the map, Yin Chuan sat upright and closed his eyes. At the same time, the golden dragon of luck above the Dajin dynasty's sea of luck suddenly opened its eyes, and 2 beams of golden light shot out. The golden dragon grabbed the great heavenly seal and stabbed perfected Lord Diyu with its claws. It turned its head and looked down. Perfected Lord Dayu's body was covered in a large number of black stripes. The stripes were wreaking havoc and constantly destroying his body. The black stripes emitted an evil aura. It was extremely destructive. Perfected Lord Diyu was poisoned and could not use any of his magic power. He could only let the evil aura surround him. Perfected Lord Diyu was extremely weak. He narrowed his eyes and looked like he was about to die. Evil aura? The golden dragon's eyes widened. Yin Chuan recognized the evil aura at a glance. The myriad wonders demonic lotus in the feng shui array and the black rose that the Jade Emperor's sword absorbed in the light world were all evil aura. Perfected Lord Diyu also had this evil aura in his body. Perfected Lord Diyu, the golden dragon said. Perfected Lord Diyu's eyes widened as soon as the golden dragon spoke. Ha 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 ha, Yin Chuan, if I wasn't injured, do you think you could do anything to me? Perfected Lord Diyu said stubbornly. Do you know why I didn't kill you? The golden dragon said. You want to subdue me? Dream on. I'd rather die than submit to anyone. Perfected Lord Diyu said coldly. Are you trying to preserve your last shred of dignity? The golden dragon said condescendingly. Perfected Lord Diyu looked at the golden dragon with cold eyes. I've seen the evil aura in your body. At the same time, I can get rid of it all. The golden dragon said. The golden dragon's expression changed. Don't think too highly of yourself. You're just a prisoner. You're just waiting to die. 3-legged golden crow may have a glorious history, but you're nothing now. The golden dragon said coldly. Perfected Lord Diyu glared. Just because I think highly of you doesn't mean that I can tolerate you forever. The golden dragon said coldly. Haha, you want me to submit to a tiny empire? Dream on. I won't agree. My ancestors won't let me agree. You're not qualified. You're not qualified. True, Lord Diyu said hatefully. Hearing this, The golden dragon's eyes narrowed slightly. He had finally gotten some information. Lord, perfected Lord to you? Perfected Lord to you? Can you be compared to your ancestors? The golden dragon asked in a deep voice. Perfected Lord's pupils too. Lord, do you to you? You're just a prisoner. I didn't kill you because I pitied you. Otherwise, you'd be meeting your ancestors now. The golden dragon said coldly. Perfected Lord to you took a deep breath and stopped talking. He knew that Yin Chuan was telling the truth. However, the glory of his ancestors' bloodline would not allow him to submit. He looked at Yin Chuan proudly. Perfected Lord Diyu was not convinced. Yin Chuan was satisfied that perfected Lord Diyu remained silent. At the very least, he could make perfected Lord Diyu reflect on his actions. Yin Chuan's tone also softened. What's wrong with my Dajin dynasty? Do you think we can't become an imperial dynasty? The golden dragon asked. Perfected Lord Diyu narrowed his eyes. Imperial dynasty? Perfected Lord Diyu did not doubt Yin Chuan's methods. Therefore, he remained silent. Dynasty is just the beginning. Imperial dynasty, heavenly dynasty, and even Dajin dynasty can become the heavenly court. What's wrong with that? The golden dragon asked. Chapter 705. The Heavenly Court? Lord Diyu stared at the golden dragon's eyes with a hint of surprise. Obviously, he didn't expect Yin Chuan to have such great ambitions. Dajun will eventually be strong, just like how you will be strong if you are allowed to grow. What's wrong with Dajun? Once you enter Dajun, as long as you make outstanding contributions, I will not be stingy in granting you great authority. Once you enter Dajun, you will be blessed with limitless luck to aid your cultivation. As long as you have the ability, I will allow you to lead countless armies. I will even allow you to lead countless armies in the future. An army of 10,000 immortals will be at your disposal. The golden dragon said. True, Lord Diyu's expression flickered. Where did your injuries come from? Since you have glorious ancestors, how did you end up in such a state? My guess is that you must have a great enemy. The strength of a single person is ultimately limited. Enter the Great Perfection Realm and wait for the day when the Great Perfection Realm flourishes. Then, you can lead a magnificent army and trample the enemy's sect. The golden dragon continued. True, Lord Diyu's eyes flashed. Clearly, Yin Chuan's words had moved him. No, I've said it before. You are not qualified to make me submit. Even if I die, I will not submit to you. True, Lord Diyu suddenly raised an eyebrow. Clearly, the pride passed down from his ancestors was not enough to make him submit. What do you mean by qualifications? What do you think qualifications are? The golden dragon said. True, Lord Diyu's expression darkened, and he remained silent. I captured and raped you. Am I not qualified? The golden dragon laughed. I am injured. Otherwise, why would I be captured by you? True, Lord Diyu said. That makes sense. The golden dragon suddenly changed his tone. That was because Yin Chuan noticed that True Lord Diyu's tone had changed. True Lord Diyu looked at the golden dragon with a puzzled expression. I will help you remove the evil aura in your body. Go back and recuperate. When I capture you again, do you think I am qualified? The golden dragon laughed. What did you say? True Lord Diyu couldn't believe his ears. The golden dragon didn't say it a second time. Instead, it said, I allow you to seek revenge, but you can only come to me. I believe that with the pride of your ancestors, they would disdain venting their anger on commoners. True, Lord Diyu stared at the golden dragon in disbelief. Swish! At this moment, the Jade Emperor's sword suddenly shot into the Sea of Providence and stabbed toward Lord Diyu. True, Lord Diyu didn't even blink as he stared at the sword. Yin Chuan liked this ferocious aura very much. Chi! The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly pierced True Lord Diyu's skin. True Lord Diyu raised his eyebrows. Who? The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly produced a suction force. All the evil chi in his body rushed towards the Jade Emperor's sword. Outside the Jade Emperor's sword, evil aura suddenly raged. What? True Lord Diyu was surprised. Rumble, the golden dragon of Providence also picked up the great heavenly seal. It slowly retreated. It released True Lord Dayu. True Lord Dayu didn't move. Instead, he looked at the Jade Emperor's sword in shock. The demonic sword? True Lord Dayu's voice suddenly turned cold. It was as if he had a strong hatred for the Jade Emperor's sword. No, it's not the demonic sword. Where did you get this sword? True Lord Dayu looked at the golden dragon in shock. I refined it. What about it? The golden dragon looked at True Lord Dayu. True Lord Dayu looked at the golden dragon with a complicated expression. You can refine something like the demonic sword? No, although it's not as powerful as the demonic sword, it can absorb the power of the demonic sword. You. True Lord Dayu looked at the golden dragon in shock. Chapter 706. The golden dragon looked at perfected Lord Dayu in confusion. Shing! The Jade Emperor's sword flew back, and the evil aura around it became stronger. All the evil aura around perfected Lord Dayu was sucked away, but the injuries caused by the evil aura couldn't be healed in a short time. Perfected Lord Dayu flapped his wings and looked at the golden dragon with a complicated expression. He helped him deal with the evil aura, let him go, and asked him to take revenge? Just this boldness alone made True Lord Dayu unconsciously think more highly of him. Let's go. Heal your injuries and wait for me to catch you again. The golden dragon said confidently. Ha ha! Perfected Lord Dayu's face twisted. You want to catch me? Dream on? Perfected Lord Dayu flapped his wings and flew out of the sea of providence. The golden dragon watched perfected Lord Dayu leave. Whoosh! After flying out of Yanjin, perfected Lord Dayu suddenly stopped and flapped his wings. He turned his head and said, Remember, my name is Jin Dayu. Whoosh! Perfected Lord Dayu flapped his wings and disappeared into the sky. After sending perfected Lord Dayu away, Yin Chuan slowly opened his eyes in the study. Jin Dayu? Yin Chuan frowned and thought. Jin Dayu? Great Winged Heaven School? Dayu? Tianzong? Tianzong? Is there a sect called Tianzong in the world? What a great name! Yin Chuan frowned as he pondered. First open city. In a remote restaurant. There were 7 or 8 people standing in the restaurant. The leader was the great wisdom Bodhisattva, who was defeated by Yin Chuan and Yin Jin, and was later saved by Dao Lord Yu. At this moment, he appeared in the first open city again. The Great Winged Heaven School was destroyed? Someone next to him said in shock. I came too late. I knew it would be too late when the Lord came out of seclusion, but I didn't expect it to be so late. The Great Wisdom Bodhisattva said bitterly. The Great Winged Heaven School was destroyed, and no one was left alive? Great Jin Dynasty, what a ruthless plan. Ruthless? That's how a kingdom is. All lands under the heavens belong to the king, and all lands are the king's subjects. Isn't Lord's Buddhist kingdom the same? Great Wisdom Bodhisattva shook his head. I had originally brought the Lord's decree to Shinkuin Kuroha, but it was all too late. The Great Jin Dynasty had destroyed the Lord's plans in the East. Now, should we destroy the Great Jin Dynasty together? Let's not do that. The Lord has great foresight. There is still the Dezhao, holy ground in the East. If we do too much, the Dezhao, holy ground might interfere and ruin the Lord's plan. Neither of us can bear the responsibility. Let's go back and report to the Lord. Great Wisdom Bodhisattva sighed. Yin Chuan got lucky. Another person nodded. Beijing. The Great Jin Dynasty consolidated its political power in an orderly manner. Cultivation methods were spread all over the world. All citizens of the Great Jin Dynasty could cultivate. The officials and soldiers of the Great Jin Dynasty could cultivate even more profound cultivation methods. In an instant, the commoners' support for Dezhun increased. Everything proceeded in an orderly manner. After a few years, the Great Jin Dynasty had almost stabilized. Yin Chuan looked at the map and found a lot of information. Finally, he found the location. Your Majesty, there is an envoy from outside requesting an audience. Lu Jin walked into the study. Oh, an envoy? Yin Chuan was puzzled. The envoy said that he was sent by Feng Yinyang of the Southern Divine Continent to deliver a letter. Lu Jin smiled. Feng Yinyang? Yin Chuan's expression changed. Yes, the envoy has been received. He is waiting for your majesty to summon him. Lu Jin smiled. Chapter 707. Book 4. Ghost Nation's Divine Sect Chapter 1. God soared above the sea of clouds. A large ship made of steel was flying at high speed. The ship's body was covered with countless arrays that emitted a faint white light. They formed a shield around the ship as it flew towards the south. At the bow of the ship, Yin Chuan leaned on the railing and looked into the distance. Beside Yin Chuan stood a man in a black robe. The man wore a black hat that obscured his face. Hades Emperor. Although this flying ship is good, it consumes spiritual stones too quickly. The man in the black robe said regretfully. Is it? You're Feng Yinyang's disciple. You don't lack spiritual stones, do you? Yin Chuan smiled. The man in the black robe smiled bitterly. Although the sect has a large supply of spiritual stones, I use them too quickly. Ha ha. Feng Shui masters need spiritual stones. Mr. Yu, my great Jin sect has a small fortune. Don't worry. Yin Chuan smiled. I wouldn't dare. My master has instructed me not to slight Hades Emperor. Hades Emperor, just call me Yu. Don't call me Mister, or I'll be ashamed. The man in the black robe said immediately. Looking at Yu, Yin Chuan nodded. All right. There are still 7 years before the Feng Shui ceremony begins. Setting off now, with this flying boat speed, isn't it a little early? Yi asked curiously. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll set off early. Yin Chuan smiled. That's good. I'll cultivate in seclusion in the flying ship for a while. Yui said. All right. Yin Chuan nodded. Yui slowly returned to the cabin. At this time, Huaguang slowly walked over. Your Majesty, the flying ship that Holy Maiden Yushi bought is really fast. Huaguang exclaimed. How are the soldiers? Yin Chuan looked at Huaguang. All of them have adapted to life on the airship. I've assigned 100 soldiers here, and all of them have reached the pinnacle of Qi Jing. Perhaps they will be able to reach the immortal state in a few years' time. Huaguang said solemnly. 100 people? That's enough. Use the spirit stones to set up the formation. Don't worry about using them up. If you use up the spirit stones, you can just get them back in the future. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Yes, rest assured, Your Majesty. Huaguang nodded. Great Jin Dynasty, Yinjing, Yifeng's residence. When Yin Chuan left the court and went south, there were a lot of government affairs that required Yifeng to work hard. Yifeng was reading some files. Master, the governor of the Eastern Military Depot requests an audience. A servant said, Lu Gang? Invite him in? Yifeng frowned. Yes. Soon, Lu Gang was invited into Yifeng's study. Lord Lu, what brings you to my humble abode today? Yifeng asked with a smile. You're too kind, Lord Yi. I know that you're busy. I won't beat around the bush. Lu Gang said with a smile. Oh, Lord Yi, my Eastern Depot recently discovered a strange matter. Originally, I wanted to report it to His Majesty, but His Majesty went south and entrusted Lord Yi with an important task. I thought that I should report it to Lord Yi, but because of this matter, I can't make a move. Lu Gang frowned. Oh, you can't make a move? Yes, Lord Yi. Do you still remember Yin Shuyu? Lu Gang rubbed his bald head and frowned. The Yin Emperor of the past? The Emperor's relative? Now he has been conferred the title of Marquis Yin by the Emperor. He doesn't have much power in Great Jin, but his title is supreme. You should know that only Yumi, Huaguang, and Yin Shuyu have been conferred the title of Marquis in Great Jin. Yifeng nodded. That's right. Some time ago, the Eastern Military Depot found out that Yin Shuyu met with a few strangers. Then, his cultivation increased rapidly during this period. He went from stage 5 of the Essence State to peak of the Essence State. He improved by leaps and bounds. His root bone improved too quickly, Lu Gang said with a frown. Chapter 708. Yifeng frowned and fell into deep thought. Lu Gang waited patiently. Unfamiliar faces? Do you know who they are? Yifeng frowned. I'm not sure. Those unfamiliar faces disappeared as soon as they entered Yin Ho's residence. It was as if they had evaporated. Lu Gang said worriedly. Yifeng thought for a while and said, "Don't leak this matter. Just keep an eye on it. Dejun's current situation is set. Yin Ho won't be able to cause any trouble. Just pretend that nothing happened and wait for the Emperor to return." And Lu Gang nodded. The East Divine Continent, South Divine Continent, and Middle Divine Continent, where the three continents intersected. It was a city called White Wolf City. Your Majesty, the White Wolf City Lord's residence outside the city. If we buy it now, it will belong to us, Huoguang said with a smile. Let's go. Yin Chuan nodded. More than 10 soldiers followed behind Yin Chuan and Huoguang like servants. The flying boat had already passed by. Yin Chuan did not want to complicate matters in this treasure hunt. Therefore, he chose to spend spirit stones to buy the mountain range outside White Wolf City. The group walked out of White Wolf City. At the entrance of White Wolf City, a large number of cultivators were entering and exiting. When they reached the entrance of White Wolf City, wolf howls suddenly came from afar. "Oh!" Yin Chuan paused and turned his head to look. Rumble! About 1,000 wolves passed by the entrance of White Wolf City and ran quickly in a certain direction. "They are all demonic beasts?" Huoguang said in surprise. "They are all in the Essence realm. Only the Wolf King is in the Qi realm," Yin Chuan said with a smile. This group of wolves ran. Soon, Yin Chuan saw a figure in the wolf pack. It was a young man wearing animal skin. Oh! The young man's hair was disheveled. He was about 18 or 19 years old, but his face was dirty. He ran quickly in the wolf pack with his hands and feet on the ground, as if he was very excited. His hands and feet were on the ground as he ran like a wolf. Even so, his speed was still extremely fast. Huoguang showed a hint of curiosity. "Is that a human?" someone asked curiously. Boom! With a kick of his forelegs, the young man jumped onto the Wolf King's body. Oh! The young man let out a strange cry of excitement, but the Wolf King didn't care. It turned its head to look at the young man, and its eyes flashed with a hint of affection. "Doting?" Yin Chuan was a little surprised. "Ah, it's that wolf child," someone at the city gates suddenly shouted. "Wolf child? Which wolf child?" someone asked. "You don't remember?" It seemed that in the White Wolf Valley in the east, the Wolf King had picked up a baby. One had to know that to wild beasts, baby meat was the most tender and delicious. The strange thing was that not only did the Wolf King not eat the baby, she even fed the boy with wolf milk. Every day, she would find all kinds of spiritual fruits for the wolf child to eat. The wolf child also recognized the Wolf King as his mother. Every day, the wolf child would mingle with the pack of wolves, thinking that he was also a wolf. "Ah, that wolf child? But I saw his speed just now. He was very fast. Who did he learn cultivation from?" "That wolf child is already in the Essence realm. He didn't learn from anyone but the Wolf King. He absorbed the power of the moon and had spiritual fruits every day. Naturally, he has some strength." "Wolf child? Unfortunately, he is neither a wolf nor a human. He has already become a monster. Only the pack of wolves can accept him." "Isn't that so? He can't speak the human language and eats raw meat every day. Naturally, he is no different from a wolf. How can he still be a human? Ha ha ha." Chapter 709. The people at the city gate were talking to each other. Yin Chuan gradually understood the origin of the wolf child. He looked into the distance with slight curiosity. The wolf child was not tolerated by humans, but integrated into the pack of wolves. He did not seem disappointed at all. Instead, he seemed to be living happily. "Let's go." Yin Chuan did not linger any longer. At this moment, there were more important things to do. He had finally found the location of the map left by his father. What kind of mine was underground? Yin Chuan led Huoguang and the others away quickly. In a mountain range, there were many palaces and buildings. At this moment, Yin Chuan's soldiers were sending the original servants away. This place had been bought by Yin Chuan. After all the servants were sent away, the flying boat in the sky slowly descended. It found a place to settle down. Hades Emperor, why did you stop here? Yi, who was dressed in a black robe, asked curiously. Yi, why don't you find a house to stay in for a while? I'm going to stay here to settle some matters. Yin Chuan laughed. Okay. Yui did not suspect anything. The soldiers quickly flew in all directions and began to set up the formation. Soon, the mountain range was covered by thick fog. Everything was settled. Yin Chuan circled a piece of land and began to let Hua Guang dig. The more they dug, the deeper they went. After digging for nearly 100 feet, a ray of white light finally rushed out from the ground. The gentle white light illuminated the 100 feet deep pit. There were many soldiers around. Yin Chuan quickly flew to the bottom of the pit. He picked up a stone that was emitting white light and raised his eyebrows. Your Majesty, I found it. What stone is this? Why is it emitting light? Hua Guang asked curiously. Sacred light stone? Yin Chuan suddenly raised his eyebrows. Hiss! Yin Chuan gasped. Yin Chuan had seen sacred light stone before. In his previous life, Yin Chuan had one. However, it was only the size of a fist. But in front of him, it was a mineral vein? Mineral veins? Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with surprise. Father, you've given me quite a few surprises. Yin Chuan muttered to himself. Your Majesty, this is called sacred light stone? What's the use? Hua Guang was puzzled. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, Expel all evils and purify the world. Huh? Hua Guang still didn't understand. A mine? Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. Your Majesty, are you going to dig it out and bring it back? But it seems to be too much. Hua Guang said worriedly. There's no need to bring it back. We have already made up our mind. Since it's a treasure left behind by our father, we naturally have to make good use of it. We will refine the sacred light stone in this mine and refine it into a sword of the sun of heaven. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Hua Guang didn't understand the value of the sacred light stone. Since Yin Chuan had made a decision, Hua Guang immediately carried it out. At this point, Yin Chuan and the rest settled down. The soldiers worked hard to cultivate. During this period of time, Yin Chuan was frantically refining the sacred light stone in this mine. Yin Chuan's third sword of the Son of Heaven was about to be completed. A year later, 300 feet underground, in a huge, empty shell, Yin Chuan sat in the void. The Jade Emperor's sword danced around Yin Chuan, making a provocative sound. And between Yin Chuan's knees, another sword was pressed down by Yin Chuan. The style of this sword was exactly the same as the Jade Emperor's sword. The only difference was that this sword was white and emitted a gentle white light. It was as if this white light could purify the world. The Jade Emperor's sword's provocation was directed at this white sword. Whoosh! Yin Chuan suddenly opened his eyes. He grabbed the white sword and said in a deep voice, From today onwards, I bestow upon thee the name God. Wang! The white sword also made a buzzing sound, as if it was excited to have a new name. It also seemed to be competing with the Jade Emperor's sword for attention. The two swords hummed at the same time. God's sword, Jade Emperor's sword. Chapter 710. God has just been formed, and its spirituality is insufficient. Jade Emperor, use your spirit to stimulate it and help it condense its spirit. Yin Chuan said to the Jade Emperor's sword. Wang! The Jade Emperor's sword trembled slightly, as though it understood Yin Chuan's words. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two swords suddenly flew up and landed on Yin Chuan's back. The white light from the Emperor's sword dimmed. The two swords looked exactly the same, one black and one white. It was extremely distinct. He stood up and brushed the dust off his body. Yin Chuan rushed out from the ground. Outside was a hollowed-out hall. With a wave of his hand, the door to the hall opened. Rumble! The moment the door opened, rumbling sounds could be heard from the outside. 4 guards stood at the door. Your Majesty! The 4 of them greeted respectfully. Someone is undergoing tribulation? Yin Chuan asked curiously. Yes, it's almost over. It will be over soon, one of the guards said respectfully. Where's Hua Guang? Yin Chuan asked. Your Majesty? Your Majesty went to White Wolf City. The guard said respectfully. Oh. Yin Chuan was curious. I heard that something strange happened in White Wolf City. A pack of demon wolves went to White Wolf City to propose marriage to the city lord. Mr. Yi was curious and wanted to take a look. Your Majesty escorted Mr. Yi there. The guard said respectfully. Demon wolves? Propose marriage to the White Wolf City's city lord? Yin Chuan was surprised. Demon beasts proposing marriage to someone? This situation was indeed strange. Leave half of you here to protect the soldiers undergoing tribulation. The rest of you, follow me? Yin Chuan was also curious. Yes. The group of guards replied excitedly. To the group of guards, this was indeed a strange situation. Demon wolves proposing marriage to someone? Is this a joke? Yin Chuan led 40 soldiers and flew towards White Wolf City. With the soldiers who knew the location leading the way, they soon arrived at a small mountain by the southern gate. Hua Guang, Yue, and 10 other soldiers stood at the peak of the small mountain. Your Majesty, Hua Guang said respectfully. Greetings, Your Majesty. The soldiers were also extremely respectful. Yin Chuan nodded. He landed at the front and looked at the South City gate in the distance. Boom! Hello! Outside White Wolf City, there was an intense battle going on. Batches of fiend wolves continuously fell, dying under the swords of the group of white-clad cultivators. A large number of corpses lay on the ground. Some belonged to fiend wolves, some belonged to white-clad cultivators. Blood covered the ground, and internal organs flew everywhere. There were also close to 300 wolves that had been skinned. There were also a lot of spirit fruits scattered on the ground. At this moment, more than a dozen white-robed cultivators were surrounding a wolf child dressed in animal skin. Roar! Roar! The wolf child crazily charged at the surrounding cultivators, but all it got in return were sword wounds. What's going on? Yin Chuan raised his eyebrows. Huh! Yue sighed softly at the side. However, Hua Guang held his spear tightly. Hatred flashed in his eyes, but he endured it. It's like this. Hades Emperor, do you see the people on the city gate tower? Yue asked. Yin Chuan looked over and saw a group of white-clad cultivators on the city gate tower, escorting 2 figures. One was an old man with a broken left arm and a bloody face. The other was a beautiful woman. The woman supported the injured old man as she looked coldly at the city gate. That is White Wolf City's city lord. Yin Chuan recognized the two. 1 year ago, when Xiao Chun purchased the land, they met once. That's right. That is White Wolf City's city lord and his daughter. More importantly, his daughter went to the forest for experiential training half a year ago. However, she was not strong enough and met a strong fiend beast in the forest. Just as she was about to die, that wolf child saw her and saved her, Yue said. Chapter 711. Oh! The wolf child saved the city lord's daughter. It wasn't a big deal because the wolves near White Wolf City rarely hurt people. But this time, the wolf child took a fancy to the city lord's daughter. He liked her at first sight. Then, the wolf child found a large amount of spirit fruits and gave them to the girl. Yue said, I also heard from the people in the city that the wolf child would bring spirit fruits into the city every 2 days and give them to the city lord's daughter. After that, the wolf child would turn around and leave. Yue frowned. What happened after that? Yin Chuan frowned. After that, it was the strange thing that we heard before. The demon wolves proposed marriage. The Wolf King of White Wolf Valley is already in the Qi realm and has the intelligence of Immortal. Naturally, he saw through the wolf child's intentions. So, he brought 300 demon wolves and a large amount of spirit fruits and spirit herbs to propose marriage. Yue explained. So, it was a marriage proposal for the wolf child. The wolves couldn't speak, but the Wolf King is already in the Qi realm. He can move the air and make sounds. When he arrived at the city, he proposed marriage. The city lord was furious. The city lord's daughter looked at him with contempt. It was fine if the marriage was not proposed, but the city lord took it as a great humiliation. He mobilized the city guards to kill the wolves. Yui said, "Kill?" Yin Chuan raised his eyebrows. Yes, it was that white-robed cultivator. A group of white-robed cultivators surrounded the 300 wolves. The city lord even personally killed the Wolf King. But the Wolf King's strength was not ordinary. It seriously injured the city lord, so he couldn't do anything. Yui said, pointing into the distance. The city lord was so angry that he ordered the white-robed cultivators to skin the 300 wolves to vent his anger. Yui said, Yin Chuan frowned and nodded. When the wolf child heard the news, he brought the rest of the demon wolves here. When they saw the skinned wolves, the eyes of all the wolves turned red. The pack of wolves attacked the white-robed cultivators together. That's why this happened. Yui explained. Groups of demon wolves fell, and the white-robed cultivators fell one by one. At this moment, the battle outside the southern city gate was extremely fierce. The skinned demon wolves on the ground were even more brutal. There were fewer and fewer demonic wolves. After all, the Yao wolves were too weak, the Wolf King was dead, and there were no talismans. The Xiozha in the city all had talismans and weapons. Arcs! Batches of demon wolves were stabbed to death. Close to 20 white-clothed Xiozha surrounded the wolf child. Roar! Roar! The wolf child's eyes were red, and his fingernails were covered in blood. It was unknown whether it was his own or someone else's. Hoo-hoo! The wolf children quickly pounced on the white-robed Xiozha. If they were caught, the wolf children would immediately stab their hands into their chests or bite their throats. The wolf child was very ferocious, even more ferocious than all the other demonic wolves. At this moment, it was incomparably deranged. Its speed was shockingly fast, just like a demon. However, there were too many white-robed cultivators in the surroundings. The wolf child was fighting alone. There were already dozens of sword wounds on its body, but the wolf child did not care at all. It continued to bite with all its might. Your Majesty, Hua Guang frowned with a complicated expression. Hua Guang clenched his fists and said, "This subject wants to help that wolf child. The city lord is too ruthless. Not only did the demon wolves fail to propose marriage, but he also killed them all. That city lord's daughter is even more vicious. The person who saved her back then actually repaid kindness with enmity. That wolf child, since you want to help, then let's go." Yin Chuan frowned, but Hua Guang revealed a conflicted expression. Chapter 7:12. What's wrong? Yin Chuan asked curiously. This White Wolf City is a subsidiary city of the Yushan Academy. According to Yui, the Yushan Academy has a close relationship with the Fengshui Southern Sect. Therefore, Hua Guang said with a complicated expression. Go. Yin Chuan gave Hua Guang an order. Yes, Your Majesty. Hua Guang said gratefully. Let's go. Hua Guang ordered the 10 soldiers. Yes. Boom. The group of people quickly flew towards the southern city gate. At this moment, the long swords of 2 cultivators suddenly pierced the wolf child's shoulder, nailing him to the ground. Roar! The wolf child unwillingly let out a ferocious roar. Whoosh! Another cultivator suddenly thrust his sword at the wolf child, aiming for the wolf child's forehead. Roar! The wolf child unwillingly roared. His red eyes were filled with hatred. The sword was about to kill the wolf child. Suddenly, an astral spear pierced out and shattered the sword that was slashing towards the wolf child. Boom! Hua Guang suddenly landed on the battlefield. He stepped on the ground, and a gust of wind blew in all directions. The group of white-clothed cultivators was even more swayed. The wolf child was saved. Ignoring the pain in his shoulder, the wolf child suddenly stood up. His eyes were still ferocious. He looked at Hua Guang with confusion. Who are you? On the city gate tower, the city lord suddenly shouted. Take him down, Hua Guang ordered. Boom! 10 soldiers rushed into the sky with a loud bang. Ah! the city lord cried out in alarm. Rumble! On the city gate tower, the city lord and his daughter, together with more than 10 white-clothed people, were thrown to the ground. Moreover, their cultivations were suppressed. Who are you? What are you doing? The city lord cried out in alarm. Huoguang jumped from the ground. A long saber that fell into the blood on the ground flew into the wolf child's hand. Pa! The wolf child caught it and immediately understood what Huoguang meant. Roar! The wolf child did not use a knife. Instead, he quickly rushed toward the man in white who was killing the wolves. C.I. 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 There were less than 50 white-robed cultivators left. Under the wolf child's frenzy, they were quickly torn apart. Every time it tore apart a white-robed cultivator, the wolf child would bite off a piece of flesh and drink a mouthful of blood. Finally, the white-robed man was avenged. The wolf child rushed towards the city lord and his daughter. Roar, roar, roar! The wolf child's eyes turned red. The city lord had already been severely injured by the wolf king and could not exert much strength at the moment. When he saw the wolf child rushing over, he immediately panicked. Don't come over! Don't! The city lord's daughter suddenly screamed and stood in front of the city lord. Don't come over! My daughter will marry you! My daughter will marry you! The city lord cried out in panic. At this moment, the city lord's daughter was also horrified. She looked at the wolf child with an expression that said, I'll listen to you. The beautiful city lord's daughter's pitiful appearance immediately softened the wolf child's heart. After all, the wolf child had admired her for a long time. After more than half a year, he had already fallen deeply in love with this girl. The wolf child's red eyes slowly faded. For a moment, he did not know what to do. Like in the past, he instinctively looked to his mother for help. The girl thought that the wolf child would not be killed, so she revealed joy. However, a trace of resentment hid in the corner of her eyes. The wolf child turned his head and saw the 5-meter-tall wolf king. The wolf king had not been skinned clean. Its skin and flesh were separated, looking extremely miserable. The wolf king fell into a pool of blood, no longer breathing. Seeing the wolf king's miserable state, the wolf child leaped over and hugged the wolf king's corpse, shaking it vigorously. However, no matter how he shook, the wolf king would not wake up. The wolf child knew that the wolf king would never wake up again. Roar! The wolf child raised his head and roared. His voice contained intense grief. Roar! 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 The wolf child kept roaring, but the wolf king had already stopped breathing. 2 drops of tears fell from the wolf child's eyes. The wolf child reached out and touched the tears in his eyes. Looking at his wet fingers, he was at a loss. Clearly, this was the first time the wolf child knew what tears were. It was also the first time he saw his own tears. The wolf child did not know what tears were, but he could feel the sadness at this moment. He turned his head and looked at the girl again. The girl smiled. This was the beauty that the wolf child had yearned for in the past. However, at this moment, the wolf child no longer loved her. Roar! With a furious roar, the wolf child charged over and sent a palm strike at the girl. Boom! The girl's head was smashed. Tears flowed from her eyes. The wolf child angrily smashed the girl again and again. Following that, he tore the city lord into pieces. Roar! The wolf child cried and roared. The wolf child had taken his revenge, but his heart was in pain. Huoguang watched from the side and sighed softly. The wolf child roared for a while. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. Suddenly, he looked at Huoguang. Looking at Huoguang, the wolf child suddenly knelt before Huoguang. No, it should be said that the wolf child prostrated itself. Without any etiquette, the wolf child did not know what kneeling was. It only knew the action of submission and gratitude of the wolf race. The wolf child prostrated itself before Huoguang. Chapter 713. White Wolf City, on a small mountain south of the city. Yin Chuan stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Huoguang, who was standing at the city gate in the distance, seeking revenge for the wolf child. Yui, I'll explain this to Feng Yinyang. Yin Chuan said to Yui. Yui smiled bitterly. Emperor Yin is overthinking. Just based on the fact that Emperor Yin found the heaven-burying coffin for my master, everything Emperor Yin has done is reasonable. A city, not to mention that it doesn't belong to the South Sect. Even if it did belong to the South Sect, as long as Emperor Yin says so, you can take it. Moreover, my master also said that the Emperor of Hell once saved his life. Yin Chuan nodded. However, this White Wolf City was built by my South faction leader. Yui added, Oh, the sovereign of the South Sect? Yin Chuan was surprised. Our faction leader has never built a city. 30 years ago, he built 9 cities. Yui said, 9 cities? I heard from Huaguang that these cities belong to Yushan Academy. Yin Chuan was curious. The Yushan Academy is one of the 4 great academies in the world. Our sect leader was invited by the headmaster of the Yushan Academy. The headmaster of the Yushan Academy has another identity. He is our sect leader's twin brother. Yui said, Oh, the Feng Shui South faction leader and the headmaster of Yushan Academy are twin brothers? Yin Chuan was surprised. Yui nodded. Then, why didn't the headmaster of Yushan Academy cultivate Feng Shui? Yin Chuan asked. Logically speaking, Feng Shui cultivators paid attention to the time of birth and the time of birth. If one twin could cultivate Feng Shui, the other should be able to do so too. I'm not sure. Our faction leader and the headmaster of Yushan Academy walked different paths. Yui shook his head. For the sake of our brotherhood, the head of the Nan faction should take action. Of course, it's not a problem. But since the Yu Mountain Academy has asked the head of the Feng Shui Southern faction to take action in person, those 9 cities must be extraordinary, right? Yin Chuan asked curiously. Netherworld glanced at Yin Chuan, mused for a bit, and said with a nod, the 9 cities that Sect Master set up, each one is connected to a star, above the 9 heavens. 9 stars? Which 9? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. The Army Destroyer Star, Ravenous Wolf Star, Great Gate Star, Literati Star, Marshal Star, Lutzen Star, Lianjin Star, Left Minister Star, Right Minister Star. Yui said. The Big Dipper? Yin Chuan said in surprise. Yui nodded. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's to increase the heaven-earth yuan qi in the city. Yui explained. But Yin Chuan didn't think so. Using the power of the stars to gather in a city, without the Grand Wind Navy to hold down the fort, it was impossible to increase the number of stars. Looking up, Yin Chuan looked at the sky. Although he couldn't see the starry sky, he could still sense it. Why would an academy need to connect to the Big Dipper? White Wolf City. Could it be connected to the Ravenous Wolf Star? Yin Chuan's expression changed. That's right. Yi nodded. At this moment, the wolf child in the distance was already kneeling in front of Huaguang, as if expressing a strong sense of gratitude. Yin Chuan's eyes narrowed. Yi, you said that with the sky-burying coffin that I gave to the South Sect, you could even give me a city? Yin Chuan looked at Yi. Of course. The sky-burying coffin is the most important thing in this Feng Shui festival. As long as the Hades Emperor is interested in any city, he can give it to you? Yi nodded. I want this one, Yin Chuan said with certainty. Chapter 714. Yi looked puzzled. I want the will of the Ravenous Wolf Star, Yin Chuan said firmly. The will of the Ravenous Wolf Star? Among the 9 Big Dipper stars, the Ravenous Wolf Star is the most violent. It will affect one's temperament. This, Yi said worriedly. Since I've asked, I naturally understand. However, you've forgotten a type of person. Yin Chuan looked into the distance. Yi looked over in confusion and suddenly saw the wolf child lying on the ground. Wolf child. Yi's expression changed. That's right. Why is the will of the Ravenous Wolf Star so violent? Because the person who inherits the will has a very high temperament. The fiercer and more vicious the temperament, the easier it is to lose oneself under the will of the Ravenous Wolf Star. However, the wolf child is different. He grew up with wolves, and his temperament is like a blank sheet of paper. Such a person will not be affected by the will of the ravenous wolf star. Instead, he can perfectly control the will of the ravenous wolf star. Am I right? Yan Chuan looked at Yi. It seems so. Yi nodded. In that case, I'll have to trouble you. I know you need a lot of spiritual stones to set up the formation. Now that the city lord is dead, everything in the city will be arranged by you. You just need to let the wolf child inherit the will of the ravenous wolf star. Yin Chuan said firmly. All right. Yi smiled bitterly. For Yi, although the 9 cities were set up by the sect leader, they were definitely not as important as the sky-burying coffin. When he returned, he just needed to report to the sect leader and let him set up another city. Yin Chuan led everyone to the southern city gate. At this moment, Huoguang did not know how to deal with the wolf child. Previously, he was only moved by the wolf child's persistence. Now, the wolf child was lying in front of him. Huoguang did not know what to do for a moment. Huoguang. Yin Chuan flew closer. Your Majesty. Huoguang bowed respectfully to Yin Chuan. Since the wolf child is grateful to you, you should accept him as your disciple. From now on, he will live in your first legion. Yin Chuan said. Understood. Huoguang immediately replied. Huoguang was also very fond of the wolf child. Otherwise, he would not have sought justice for him. Since the emperor had spoken, Huoguang naturally chose this disciple. Your Majesty, please bestow a name to my disciple. Huoguang immediately said. Let's call him Greedy Wolf. Yin Chuan laughed. Yes. Huoguang replied respectfully. Bring him into the city and let Yi help him inherit the will of the ravenous wolf star. Yin Chuan said. Huoguang's eyes lit up. Will of the stars? Huoguang had relied on the army breaker willpower to increase his strength by countless times. He naturally understood the value of the star willpower. Yes, thank you, Mr. Yi. Huoguang smiled. Huoguang immediately helped the wolf child up. The wolf child was extremely grateful to Huoguang, and it did not reject Huoguang's actions at all. 3 months later, White Wolf City, City Lord's Mansion. Midnight. Boom! 9 rays of light suddenly shot out from the array in the city, rushing straight to a high platform in the center of the City Lord's Mansion. On the high platform, the wolf child was enveloped by a ray of light that reached into the starry sky. Above the starry sky, the ravenous wolf star shone brightly. Above the wolf child's head, the tribulation clouds of the 29 heavenly tribulations rolled. Boom! 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 The wolf child desperately fought against the heavenly tribulation. With Yi presiding, the wolf child inherited the will of the ravenous wolf while transcending the tribulation. Huoguang stood guard at the side, careful of his first disciple. Yin Chuan stood outside the city lord's mansion, looking at the abrupt high platform. High platform? White Wolf City has a special high platform, and it's on that position. It seems that Yushan Academy is also waiting for someone to inherit the will of the ravenous wolf. An academy? They actually want to inherit the will of the ravenous wolf? Yin Chuan frowned and thought. How's the information collection? Yin Chuan looked at the guard at the side. Your Majesty, this is all the information about Yushan Academy in White Wolf City. The guard at the side said. Yin Chuan nodded. The crowd continued to watch the wolf child transcend the tribulation. The starlight pillar connected to the 9th heaven. This scene attracted the attention of countless people. Even people outside the city could see it clearly. After all, this starlight pillar was too eye-catching in the middle of the night. Outside the city, in a valley in the east, a black-robed old man slowly walked out of the valley. Suddenly, he saw the starlight pillar in White Wolf City. Bastard! Who dares to steal my sect's will of the stars? The old man shouted angrily, stepped into the sky, and flew quickly toward White Wolf City. 2 hours later. Boom! The last bolt of lightning completely ended, and the wolf child successfully entered the chi state. The will of the ravenous wolf enveloped the wolf child. The wolf child looked at his palms and seemed to be very happy. How do you feel, ravenous wolf? Huoguang smiled. Mas, Master Ravenous Wolf, has the power. The wolf child stammered. Ah, good, thank the Emperor. Huoguang pointed out. Ravenous Wolf immediately looked at Yin Chuan and bowed respectfully. Right, right to the Emperor. For the past 3 months, Huoguang had been teaching Ravenous Wolf how to speak. Although he was stammering now, he could finally say something. And Yin Chuan nodded with satisfaction. Hades, Emperor, I did not disappoint you. He wiped his sweat and smiled. Thank you, Yin Chuan said sincerely. You're welcome, Hades, Emperor. He shook his head, while everyone was celebrating for Ravenous Wolf. Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. Bastard, how dare you steal the will of the stars of the South Sect? The voice was full of anger and rushed toward the governor's mansion. Roar! Ravenous Wolf let out a roar in the direction of the voice. He instinctively felt hostility, and his face revealed a ferocious expression. Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes and looked at a black-robed figure flying in the distance. Bang! A gust of wind blew, and the black-robed figure stopped in front of everyone and stared at Ravenous Wolf, who was shrouded by the Ravenous Wolf star. So it's this little bastard. Stealing the will of the Ravenous Wolf star. You're courting death. The black-robed figure snorted coldly. Bastard, how dare you scold my disciple? Boom! Huoguang stabbed his spear at the black-robed figure. No, wait. Yui suddenly stood up from the side, and Jiao. Huoguang paused for a moment. He looked at Yui in confusion. Senior brother Ming Lu? Why are you here? Yui asked in surprise. Yui, it's you? Ming Lu's tone sank. This is Emperor Yin, my sect's distinguished guest. I was the one who triggered the will of the stars. Senior brother Ming Lu, what do you mean by this? Yui asked in confusion. Ming Lu looked at Yui and fell silent for a moment. Finally, he looked at Ravenous Wolf. All right, since that's the case, for Feng Yinyang's sake, you can leave. This little bastard, this kid who inherited the will of the Ravenous Wolf star must stay. Ming Lu said firmly. No, Yui suddenly shouted. Even if you can't, you have to. This little bastard stole the will of the Ravenous Wolf star. He must stay. Ming Lu shouted coldly. Huoguang. Yin Chuan looked at Huoguang. I'm here. Chase away this beast that doesn't speak human language. Chapter 715. An astral spear shot out. Huoguang did not care who he was. As long as Yin Chuan gave the order, he would immediately attack. Boom! Ming Lu flew back 100 zhang. Bastard! Someone hired by Feng Yinyang? You're courting death! Ming Lu shouted angrily. Just as he was waiting for Huoguang to step forward to teach him a lesson, Ming Lu suddenly waved his hand. Rumble! With this wave of his hand, dense fog billowed and dense yin qi filled the air. Large numbers of yin souls flew out in all directions and pounced on the group. Swish! Yin Chuan could clearly see that in the thick fog, there were magical treasures that looked like black chess pieces. They were spurring the black fog to become even more exuberant. Roar! Woo! Ka! In the thick fog, the sound of ghosts wailing and wolves howling filled the air, covering the sky and the moon. For a moment, the city lord's mansion was filled with the sound of evil spirits. Who? One evil spirit after another pounced at the crowd. There were tens of thousands of them. Ming Lu, are you going to kill us all? Yui roared. Exterminate? Feng Yinyang won't be able to jump around for much longer. Ming Lu said coldly in the fog. Bastard, fellow sect members are at odds with each other. Ming Lu, you violated the South Sect's greatest taboo. Yui roared. All of you are dead. Who else knows? Within the thick fog, Ming Lu said eerily. 6 arts of ghost warding. Yui shouted. Yui's figure flickered, and he waved his hand. Suddenly, a circular wheel appeared around them, as if to protect everyone. Boom! The 10,000 ghosts rushed towards the wheel, and the wheel shattered. It would be better if Feng Yinyang came. Ming Lu sneered from within the thick fog. Is it a ghost stone? Your father actually gave you the ghost stone? Yi cried out in shock. It's too late to know. Myriad ghosts devour. Ming Lu shouted. Boom! Within the thick fog, the number of Yin spirits suddenly increased by more than twofold. 20,000 evil spirits roared ferociously. Roar! 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 10,000 ghosts rushed over in a frenzy. Boom! 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 Huoguang led a group of soldiers and quickly thrust out their spears. However, these ghosts were extremely special. They could even gnaw on spears. The soldiers were immediately restrained. Umph! Yin Chuan snorted coldly. Swish! God's sword suddenly flew out. Buzz! When the Emperor's sword flew out, it suddenly burst out with a dazzling white light. Wherever the white light reached, the thick fog immediately dispersed. Countless evil spirits touched the white light and melted upon contact. Ah! Woo-woo! Oh! The 10,000 ghosts screamed in pain. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the vast area of dense fog was instantly purified. The god sword suddenly shot out. Boom! God's sword stabbed into a piece of black stone. The darkness exploded with a loud bang. When the fog dispersed, Ming Lu's figure was revealed. Ming Lu was controlling the black stone, but it was suddenly shattered by the Emperor's sword. What is it? Ming Lu's face was blank, as if he was dreaming. At this moment, Huoguang's spear suddenly appeared. The vast energy spear arrived in front of Ming Lu in the blink of an eye. In addition to the thick fog, there were also many black Dharma treasures that looked like chess pieces in the surroundings. When Ming Lu was in danger, a large number of black Dharma treasures instantly shot back and blocked in front of him. However, Huoguang's spear was extremely powerful. Boom! All the Dharma treasures shattered with a loud bang. Ming Lu was sent flying by the force of the impact. In his confusion, Ming Lu spat out a mouthful of blood. His head was petrified and flew out. The ghost stone shattered? My 1,000 chess formation is also broken. Chapter 716. How is this possible in such a short period of time? Attack! Huoguang shouted at the soldiers. Roar! Immediately, the 50 generals attacked Ming Lu ferociously. Boom! 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 Ming Lu was only at the immortal realm. His Dharma treasure was destroyed, his mind was injured, and his body was injured. At this moment, he was extremely weak. How could he resist the 50 ferocious soldiers? Boom! Boom! Ah! Ming Lu screamed. However, Huoguang stopped attacking and looked at Yin Chuan. God's sword flew back. Yi, on the other hand, was stunned. Hades Emperor, that was a ghost stone, Ming Lingtian's feng shui treasure. It contains 100,000 evil spirits. Shattered with a single strike? Even the 100,000 wraiths have all been purified? This person is from your southern sect? How do you want to deal with it? Yin Chuan asked. If it were anyone else, Yin Chuan would have killed Ming Lu directly, but he was from the south sect. Yin Chuan didn't want to make things difficult for Feng Yinyang. Well, although just now, Yui said bitterly. But in the end, he's still a member of the southern sect. Our southern sect has rules that forbid internal strife. Yin Chuan nodded, then turned to Huoguang and said, Beat him harder. Yes. Huoguang replied with a smile. Disciple, let's go. Someone insulted you just now. Master will take you to beat them up, Huoguang said as he brought Tan Lang along. Oh! Tan Lang nodded in confusion. Beast? Tan Lang didn't understand that this was an insult, nor did he feel that it was an insult, since his master said so. Then it was, this Ming Lu? I just saw him using Go as a magic weapon, and he's actually guarding the city for the Yu Mountain Academy? Yin Chuan looked at Yu curiously. In the southern sect, there is only one first-generation disciple, the sect leader. Then there are the second-generation disciples. My master, Feng Yinyang, and his father, Ming Lingtian, are both second-generation disciples. Ming Lu is lucky. His fate is to practice feng shui, but he was sent by Ming Lingtian to the Yueshan Academy. He is both a descendant of the Southern Sect and a student of the Yueshan Academy. And Yin Chuan nodded. Yin Chuan didn't care too much about Ming Lu. He didn't pursue the matter because he was giving Feng Yinyang face. However, he could avoid the death penalty, but not the punishment. Beat him up. Beat him up until his mother can't recognize him. In the plaza below, Hua Guang commanded a group of people to beat up Ming Lu. Yes. Boom, boom, boom. White Wolf City's greedy wolf, to refine Emperor's sword. Yin Chuan led the group and set sail again. The flying boat flew quickly in the sky and disappeared in the blink of an eye. White Wolf City, in an open space outside the city lord's mansion. Ming Lu's clothes were tattered, and his body was covered in wounds. His bones were broken, and he lay on the ground, looking at the sky with a sorrowful expression. He had the ghost stone. How could he be defeated so badly? 2 days later, someone came. Young Master Ming, who beat you up like this? Ming Lu looked at the person who came and took a deep breath. Quick, send me back. I want to find my father. Yes. Also, send someone to the Yueshan Academy and inform my master that the ravenous wolf star has been taken, and he is now heading to the Southern Sect. Ming Lu said again. Yes. They flew all the way to the south. After another 2 years, Yin Chuan and his group finally arrived at the Southern Sect of Feng Shui. The steel flying boat flew high in the sky, passing over the heads of a large number of cultivators. They headed towards the mountain range. Chapter 717. Perhaps this Feng Shui ceremony was too famous. Countless cultivators came from all directions to watch the ceremony. Although they didn't know what the ceremony was about, it didn't change the interest of the major sects in the Southern Divine Continent. The Southern Sect of Feng Shui was not only one of the 2 sacred grounds of Feng Shui in the world, but also the most powerful sect in the Southern Divine Continent. This Feng Shui ceremony was naturally very important. In the Southern Sect of Feng Shui, there was no sea of merit or sea of providence in the sky. However, there were many dragon veins gathering on the ground. The flying boat slowed down when it got close. Yin Chuan saw it clearly. The dragon heads of the dragon veins were all facing the center. The qi of heaven and earth was also very rich. Countless cultivators below looked up at the sky. Suddenly, several black-robed figures flew over and blocked the flying boat. Yui took out a token. The black feathers immediately retreated, and the flying boat continued forward, heading toward the dragon veins. The Southern Sect is indeed worthy of its reputation. There might not be many sects in the world that can compare to the number of dragon veins here. Yin Chuan praised. This is the 10,000 dragons array of the Southern Sect. It draws tens of thousands of dragon veins from all directions to form this sacred ground of Feng Shui. Yui said proudly. 10,000 dragons? Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a hint of emotion. One had to know that there were only 100 dragon veins in Yinjing. Yinjing's layout was 100 dragons bow, supreme of the world. However, if there were 10,000 dragons bowing, it would naturally be more exquisite. After flying for a while, several groups of people came to stop them, but they were all blocked by Yui. At the same time, it also attracted the curiosity of countless cultivators. Finally, the flying boat flew to the center. It was a vast city surrounded by a vast mountain range in the center. There were many mountains around the mountain range. The flying boat flew toward one of them. Rumble! The flying boat slowly came to a stop. More than a dozen people stood on the mountain peak. The one in the lead had clouds embroidered on his robe. He was none other than Feng Yinyang. Yin Chuan, I've been waiting for a long time, Feng Yinyang said with a smile. I hope I'm not too late. Yin Chuan smiled. Of course it's not too late. There's still more than a year before it starts. Please. Feng Yinyang smiled. Yin Chuan nodded. Yi, take the others and settle down first. Feng Yinyang instructed Yi. Yes. Yi nodded. Go. Yin Chuan instructed Hua Guang. Yes. Yi and the others led Hua Guang's group to their accommodations. There were many palaces on this mountain peak, so it was naturally easy to stay there. Feng Yinyang personally invited Yin Chuan to the main palace. The main hall was huge, and the heaven and earth yuan qi was extremely dense. There was a huge plaque above it that said Yin Yang Hall. Another distinguished guest came to my Yin Yang Peak recently. Perhaps you know him. Feng Yinyang chuckled. Oh. Yin Chuan was curious. He's in my Yin Yang Hall. You'll know when you see him. Feng Yinyang said with a smile. Yin Chuan nodded. Feng Yinyang stepped into the main hall. There was a chessboard in the main hall, as if someone had been playing. One side was empty, while the other side was occupied by someone familiar. Greetings, Hades Emperor. That person stood up and smiled. Meng Ziqiu? So it's the master of Julu Institute. Yin Chuan smiled and bowed. Meng Ziqiu was the former master of Julu Academy. He was the father of Mr. Monroe and Meng Rongrong. Institute master? Haha, I'm no longer the Institute master. I'm just an unaffiliated person now. I heard about the South faction's prosperity and came to watch the ceremony. Hades Emperor, you're too polite, Meng Ziqiu said with a smile. Meng Ziqiu had personally attended the ceremony of Dezhun's founding. He naturally knew that Yin Chuan was no ordinary person. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.